Chapter 3873. Yu Fanghua had mixed feelings. She was happy that someone had seen Ling Xiao. She was worried that there were no more clues. Suddenly, she sensed something fishy, even though it was just a fleeting change in his eyes. But she still managed to catch it. This person is lying. Yu Fanghua was not the kind of naive White Lotus. She had adapted to the outside world in the training she received in the Eternal Palace. She had seen many different kinds of people. Her masters had also told her many things about the outside world. Although she knew that the other party was lying, Yu Fanghua still remained calm. She gently touched the white eagle's feathers and then flew away. In an instant, she disappeared into the sky. The moment Yu Fanghua left, Gu Fenghua directly collapsed to the ground. It was too terrifying. It was the first time he had such a terrifying feeling. Even when facing his master, the Dongxing Emperor, he would not be like this. How terrifying was this woman? His heart was filled with fear. But, young master, who is this woman? She gives people so much pressure. Could it be the one from the Eternal Palace? Qinyu couldn't help but ask. It shouldn't be. I remember that the one from the Eternal Palace is under house arrest. Look at the white eagle she rode. It's really extraordinary. I suspect that she might be from the heaven's sacred land of the 9-star realm. Gu Fenghua thought for a while and said, Heaven's sacred land. That's not easy. The people from the heaven's sacred land are the most protective, although they claim to be holy and just. The people there are the most untouchable. And the overall strength of the heaven's sacred land is probably much stronger than our golden heavens. They are even stronger than the sky demon ghost region that our golden heavens has allied with. Qinyu said in horror. Whether it was the heaven's sacred land or the sky demon ghost region, they were both part of the 9-star realm. They were definitely a big force that could be on par with the 4 major regions. Seeing Yu Fanghua like that, it was no wonder that they would think of these 2 big forces. But Ling Xiao, that guy, what right does he have? What right does he have to be favored by such a woman? Gu Fenghua felt very unbalanced in his heart. He had always been obsessed with martial arts. He believed that he would never be affected by a woman. He even treated his junior sister, Qing Ma Xue, as a plaything. However, this woman had thrown his emotions into chaos. Amidst the fear, there was also an indescribable longing. When he saw the woman leave, he heaved a sigh of relief. But at the same time, he felt very uncomfortable. It was as if something had been snatched away. If only junior sister was still alive. She liked to flip through those strange books. He must know the breed of the white eagle that the woman was riding. From this, he could deduce the woman's identity. It was a pity. It's all because of that Ling Xiao. Gu Fenghua felt that her hatred for Ling Xiao had increased by another level. That was taking away someone's love. He felt that the thing he liked had been taken away by someone else. But he didn't want to admit that Yu Fanghua didn't even look at him. However, he had known Ling Xiao for a long time. No matter what, young master, we finally resolved a crisis this time. No matter who that woman is, she's a terrifying existence. If she meets Ling Xiao, we'll be in big trouble. Chen Yu felt that he had done very well. He had tricked that woman into going to the savage beast region. As long as they killed Ling Xiao, this lie would never be exposed. Therefore, he wasn't afraid. Yes, you did well. Gu Fenghua was very happy with Chen Yu's wit. Army, continue forward. Now, he wanted to kill Ling Xiao even more. Otherwise, he would definitely not be able to bear the fact that such a beautiful woman had been snatched away by Ling Xiao. Little did he know that their conversation was completely heard by Yu Fanghua and by Xue. Sister, I'll go kill them. How dare they lie to you? Bai Xue had a bad temper. After all, she was a demon and was very bloodthirsty. She really wanted to wipe out the 1,000,000-strong army right now. There's no hurry. This is something that Ling Xiao has to deal with himself. We'll just follow him. As for Ling Xiao, if there's no danger to his life, we definitely can't interfere with his battle. Otherwise, he won't be happy. Yu Fanghua had known Ling Xiao for a long time. She also felt that it was strange that she seemed to have known Ling Xiao in her previous life. Very familiar. So troublesome. But this is the so-called training, right? If we help Ling Xiao, will we deprive him of a chance to gain experience? Bai Shui said, "But sister, I think you won't be able to bear it. How can you not do something when you see the man you love suffer?" That's true. If those people dare to hurt Ling Xiao, I'll let them all die in Violet's spirit capital. Let's go follow them. Yu Fanghua wasn't a good girl, nor was she a saint. For the man she loved, she would do anything. In the Heavenly Devil Ruins, the place where Ling Xiao, Zilong, and Ziqinya were cultivating was suddenly filled with many frightening demon beasts. The strongest of them all was at the mid-7th divine core realm. Zilong was the first to finish his cultivation. He glanced at Ziqinya and Ling Xiao. Both of them were still focused on their cultivation. Why are there so many demon beasts here all of a sudden? They must have been lured here by someone. Zilong thought about Lu Yi and the others who had escaped. Killing intent emerged in his mind. Once I'm done with these demon beasts, I'll kill you all. A violent fighting intent emerged in his eyes. Right now, his cultivation had reached the early 5th divine core realm. Together with the blood sovereign armor, he could unleash the combat strength of an early 6th divine core warrior. Although he was still far weaker than his sister, Ziqinya, and his brother Ling Xiao. But the speed at which his cultivation was increasing was still shocking to many. Come, you evil creatures! A bloody battle had begun. Zilong's crazy battle lasted for 2 hours. Demon beasts were all over the place, but he was severely injured as well. He was lying on the ground, unable to move. Both of his legs had been bitten off by demon beasts. He had lost an arm as well. His body was badly damaged. There were too many demon beasts, and they were too strong. It wasn't easy for him to survive until now. Damn it, am I still too weak? Zilong was not convinced. When it was his turn to protect his sister and brother, he couldn't do it. This was really depressing. Xiaolong, you've done well. Next, it's your sister's turn. Right at this moment, Ziqinya's voice sounded out. She was the second to finish her cultivation, although her cultivation hadn't broken through. But her combat strength was much stronger than before. She had also cultivated the heavenly devil combat body. When the frightening aura was unleashed, even the mid-7th divine core demon beasts were scared and backed off. How dare you hurt my brother? Die! Ziqinya leapt towards the demon beasts. She looked like a purple divine dragon. The frightening dragon claws instantly ripped 2 early 7th divine core demon beasts apart. It was an instant kill. Such frightening combat strength had stunned Lu Yi and the others who were hiding in the dark. Chapter 3874. Ziqinya was fighting the 3 mid-7th divine core demon beasts. Although she wasn't in a disadvantageous position, it wasn't easy to defeat them in a short period of time. When Lu Yi saw this, he gritted his teeth and said, "Let's go. This is our only chance. The young man is severely injured. The other one is cultivating, and the woman is fighting the 3 demon beasts. As long as we kill those 2 men and get their heavenly devil cores and inner cores, we'll be rich." All the demon beasts nodded their heads. Greed could be seen in their eyes. There was a total of 18 demon beasts, and they quietly approached Zilong. Right now, Zilong was severely injured and he couldn't move. Therefore, they decided to kill Zilong first. When Ziqinya saw this, he anxiously rushed back. But the 3 demon beasts were extremely powerful, and they were able to stop him. Of course, these demon beasts didn't want to help Lu Yi. They just felt that Ziqinya was the biggest threat to them. Only by killing Ziqinya would they be able to take care of the rest. Hee, Ziqinya, so what if you're strong? Just sit back and watch your other brother get killed by us. Lu Yi laughed out proudly. He had been hiding in the forest for nearly half a month, and he had endured for so long, all for this day. Now his chance had finally arrived. How could he not be happy? Bang! Suddenly, a terrifying explosion sounded out. Lu Ye's laughter stopped abruptly. The three mid-seventh divine core demon beasts were so scared that they stopped attacking. Everyone turned to look at the same direction. Ling Xiao's body was shrouded by a huge heavenly demon. It looked exactly the same as the heavenly devil skeleton. This was the effect of the black tortoise divine body after fusing with the heavenly devil marrow and heavenly devil bone. Heavenly devil black tortoise. One was an ancient divine beast, and the other was an extraterritorial heavenly devil. Both were legendary items, and now they had fused with Ling Xiao's body. A terrifying aura was spreading out in the air. The aura was extremely powerful. It was so powerful that Lu Yi and his men couldn't move at all. The three demon beasts let out furious roars. Then they turned around and fled. "How dare you run? I'll kill you all." Ling Xiao's voice was cold and frightening. The three demonic beasts were so frightened that they stopped abruptly. One was a demonic dragon bull with dragon claws, the other was a demonic seven-colored bird with rainbow wings, and the last was a giant demonic elephant with terrifying power. "Very good. Kill those people for me." Ling Xiao coldly looked at the three magical beasts and gave the order. The three magical beasts charged towards Lu Yi and the others without hesitation. Lu Yi and the others didn't even have the chance to beg for mercy before they were killed by the three magical beasts. "From today onwards, the three of you will listen to my orders. Guard the heavenly devil ruins." As Ling Xiao spoke, he activated his four-leaf demonic eyes, and a strange demonic light entered the bodies of the three demonic beasts. This caused the three demonic beasts to lie on the ground and bow their heads in obedience. Very good. After subduing the three magical beasts, Ling Xiao fed a healing pill to the purple dragon. He smiled and said, "See, you still protected me and your sister. Although it was only an hour, it was the most crucial moment for us. Let's go back. Next, it should be the decisive battle between us and Gu Fenghua." "Have you broken through?" Zi Qinya asked. "Guess?" Ling Xiao smiled and didn't answer. Instead, he lifted his foot and walked outside. When they arrived, they were warmly received by all kinds of magical beasts. However, when they left, none of the magical beasts dared to show up. It wasn't because of the three magical beasts. It was mainly because the aura of the heavenly devil skeleton that Ling Xiao released had intimidated all the magical beasts here. "Why didn't you just bring those three magical beasts out? That would be so cool." After the purple dragon consumed the healing pill, its body quickly recovered, and it asked excitedly, "Do you want to summon all the people from the Dongxing strong country? I'm going to pretend to be dead after killing Gu Fenghua. This way, the small purple spirit country will be safe. But if those three magical beasts are here, the Dongsheng strong country will definitely make a move." Ling Xiao thought of a way out. If he killed Gu Fenghua, he would definitely be hunted down by the Dongxing strong country. It would be better to pretend to die together with Gu Fenghua. This way, without the main culprit, the Dongxing strong country would stabilize the situation in the small purple spirit country and even the large purple kingdom. They would definitely choose to appease Zi Qinya. At that time, Zi Qinya would just pretend to surrender. This way, the Purple Kingdom would become a stable cultivation ground for the Heavenly Dynasty to enter the four major regions. Even the Heavenly Devil Ruin was left by Ling Xiao for the Heavenly Dynasty's martial artists. The cultivation effect inside was no worse than the bloodthirsty battlefield. Anyway, he knew the Yin-Yang Demon King's transformation technique. Even if he pretended to be dead, the Dongsheng strong country wouldn't notice. Of course, this wasn't forever. When he was strong enough, he would naturally return. At that time, not only would the Purple Kingdom become the Heavenly Dynasty's territory, even the entire Dongsheng strong country would be the same. In order to pretend to be dead, he had to win this battle. Otherwise, he would really die. When Ling Xiao and the other two left the Heavenly Devil Ruin, the 1,000,000 soldiers of the Purple Mansion Army had already arrived at the small Purple Spirit Country and surrounded the capital city. "Ling Xiao, if you don't come out, I will destroy the capital city of Purple Spirit and the small Purple Spirit country today. Not a single person will be left alive. I will let you bear the heavy sin. Let's see how you continue on the path of martial arts. Gu Fenghua couldn't wait to soar into the sky and roar in the direction of the capital city. No need to be so troublesome. Don't you want to kill me? I'm coming out. Ling Xiao handed the capital city of Purple Spirit to Zi, Qianye, and Zilong. Then he directly flew out of the Vajra dragon trapping formation. You dare to come out. This time, no matter what, I won't let you escape. Limitless blade formation. Gu Fenghua roared and waved the sky, chopping blade in his hand. In the sky, a huge blade formation appeared. It wrapped the two of them inside. Ling Xiao could feel it. This limitless blade formation was even more terrifying than his martial spirit barrier. Although their attributes were similar, they could only be broken by killing the opponent. However, the limitless blade formation could be used to attack. The martial spirit barrier couldn't. This is a 7th level Emperor grade martial skill. Kid, you've probably never seen it before. Gu Fenghua looked at Ling Xiao mockingly and said, Do you really think you can defeat me after seriously injuring me and then running away? The only thing you're relying on is the Crimson Lightning God. Last time I was careless, but this time all of your lightning attacks will be useless against me. In these 10 days, Gu Fenghua not only recovered from his injuries, but also returned to the Dongsheng Imperial Court and borrowed a treasure. It's called the Mystic Lightning Armor. This Mystic Lightning Armor only has one effect, and that is to block lightning attacks. The reason Gu Fenghua took such a treasure was to deal with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's blood, thunder, god's attack was too terrifying. Even he had to be careful. Now that he had the Mystic Lightning Armor, Ling Xiao's move was equivalent to being useless. He didn't believe that Ling Xiao had any other methods to deal with him. Chapter 3875. Isn't it satisfying to use a 7th level Emperor class martial skill? No matter how strong your Fiend God Seal is, it's only a 6th level Emperor class martial skill. It's far from a 7th level Emperor class martial skill. I can turn you into minced meat with a wave of my hand. Do you believe me? She trapped Ling Xiao and made Ling Xiao's Crimson Thunder God lose its effect with the Mystic Thunder Armor. Gu Fenghua's confidence was restored again. There were 2 figures in the sky in the distance. They were wrapped in a mass of energy. No one could see them. They couldn't sense them. Sister, aren't you going to help? Your man is talented, but Gu Fenghua has a master to guide her. I'm afraid the limitless saber formation won't be able to resist her. Bai Shui looked at Yu Fenghua and said. Yu Fenghua's eyes showed a hint of anxiety, but in the end she shook her head and said, I believe him. Look at his face. There's no anxiety or fear. He should have a way to solve it. She didn't want to interfere with Ling Xiao's battle. She didn't even want to meet Ling Xiao now. After all, meeting him now would only harm Ling Xiao. She believed that the people of the Eternal Palace were looking for her. It was only a matter of time before they found her. So the best thing she could do was to watch her man from afar. She just needed to watch him. In fact, it was just as Yu Fenghua said. Although the limitless saber formation was terrifying, Ling Xiao wasn't afraid. After his Fiend God seal merged with the innate Fiend God Sword Soul, it turned into the innate Fiend God Seal. It was also a 7th level Emperor class martial skill. Since you're so sure that you can kill me, why don't you do it now? Ling Xiao said sarcastically, I know. You're afraid. You're afraid that I have other trump cards. Besides, I've heard about them. The Mystic Thunder Armor can block lightning damage, but it has 0 defense against physical attacks. In other words, as long as I don't use the Crimson Thunder God, I can deal with you however I want. Gu Fenghua frowned. He wanted to scare Ling Xiao, but he didn't expect that someone would see through the weakness of the profound thunder armor with a single glance. So what? I don't fear your other attacks at all. Gu Fenghua said coldly, Oh, right, I almost forgot to tell you. I met a woman before. Gu Fenghua felt that Ling Xiao was completely flawless, and she wondered what trump cards he had. If he wanted to attack, he had to first make the other party reveal an opening. He suddenly thought of the woman from before. She was sure that it was a woman related to Ling Xiao. Thus, he came up with a plan. What does it have to do with me that you met a woman? Ling Xiao was a little curious. That woman looks like a fairy. One look and you can tell that she comes from a top force. Right, although I don't know her name. She said that she was looking for a man named Ling Xiao. He also showed me a portrait of the man. It's you in the portrait. Gu Fenghua sneered and said, You know that I hate you to the bone. So when I saw that portrait, I flew into a rage. I directly killed that woman. Speaking of which, it's strange. That woman's aura is very terrifying, but she seems to be injured. She's actually not as strong as I am. At this point, he secretly peeked at Ling Xiao's expression. He saw anxiety in Ling Xiao's eyes. Ling Xiao could already tell that the woman was definitely Yu Fenghua before he finished listening to Gu Fenghua. Although he had a few friends in the 4 major regions, Yu Fenghua was the only woman with the aura of a fairy. You're saying that you killed her? Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly turned blood red. He thought that he would deal with everything calmly. But today, he suddenly realized how important that woman was to him. If the Moon Lady died, he would really blame himself for the rest of his life. He might even go crazy because of this. I don't care if you're telling the truth or not. How dare you use her life as a joke? I'll let you know that the scariest thing in this world is not death. It's a fate worse than death. Ling Xiao's voice became extremely cold. It was as if a terrifying voice came from the depths of hell. His body had completely transformed into the unbounded heavenly rat beast soul. At that moment, he also released his tyrant martial soul. The Moon Lady was actually looking for Ling Xiao. This was something that Ling Xiao didn't expect. He always thought that he knew about the Moon Lady's past life, which was why he tried so hard to chase after her. But he didn't expect that the Yu Fenghua in this life would have such feelings for him. She actually escaped from the Immortal Palace's imprisonment and came to find him. This made him feel extremely happy. But now, Gu Fenghua told him that the Moon Lady was dead. His heart was about to break. It hurt so much. At that moment, Gu Fenghua couldn't help but take a step back. He didn't know that his words didn't make Ling Xiao waver. Instead, it made Ling Xiao explode with even more terrifying killing intent because of his anger. Even he felt fear, not to mention the Zifu army behind him. At this moment, they didn't feel like they were facing a human, but a demon. A terrifying demon. Ling Xiao didn't want Yu Fenghua to die. But if Yu Fenghua really died, he would bury the entire Dong Shangstrong country and the Immortal Palace with her. He felt that he had never been as angry as he was today. Violent power rushed out crazily. It was as if a terrifying storm had broken out. This guy's power is so strong. What kind of martial soul is that? Why is it as all-encompassing as the universe? My martial soul is actually trembling in front of that martial soul. Gu Fenghua was shocked. If the blood-colored thunder god made Gu Fenghua afraid, then this terrifying tyrant martial soul. It was enough to make him tremble. He felt as if his fighting spirit was about to collapse. Sister, you knew. I believe that you're not dead. But if you're dead, I'll bury all those who have mistreated you. Ling Xiao's angry roar resounded through heaven and earth. It was like a shocking thunder. At this moment, Yu Fenghua had an impulse. She wanted to appear in front of Ling Xiao. Tell Ling Xiao that she wasn't dead, that she was still alive. Big sister, you can't go over now. He's currently gathering his last breath. And if you appear, he'll definitely die. If you appear, he'll be in trouble. Bai Shui reminded her. Yes, you're right. Sigh, maybe I should have met him earlier. Then, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. Yu Fenghua sighed. Sister, this might not be a bad thing. At the very least, you know how devoted this man is to you, how deep his feelings are for you. Now, even Bai Shui thinks that you've chosen the right person. Bai Shui's eyes were filled with respect, not towards Yu Fenghua, but towards Ling Xiao. Also, sister, that Gu Fenghua seems to have made a fool of himself. Perhaps your man will achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation because of his anger. He'll reach the 6th divine core realm. At such a young age, he's able to reach such a level in such a terrible environment. Looks like in order to get close to you, sister, he's really risking his life. Chapter 3876. This guy actually has such terrifying potential in his body. Fortunately, his cultivation is not strong enough. Otherwise, he would really die in this guy's hands. Shocking. Horrifying. Gu Fenghua originally thought that, as long as he was serious, Ling Xiao would definitely be unable to withstand a single blow from him. However, he realized that he was wrong. Ridiculously wrong. He had to quickly kill this guy. Otherwise, no one knew what would happen. To be honest, he had been practicing martial arts for so many years and had seen many difficult opponents. However, Ling Xiao was definitely the first. Gu Fenghua, you must die today. There was no longer any emotion in Ling Xiao's eyes. Cold and emotionless. It made people's hair stand on end. The people in Ziling's capital were also very nervous. They did not know what Gu Fenghua said to Ling Xiao that caused such a big change in Ling Xiao. In the past, Ling Xiao was always calm and composed. However, today he was so furious and ferocious. Sister, is brother Ling Xiao okay? Zilong asked worriedly. All we can do now is to watch this battle quietly, because no one can interfere. However, I believe in Ling Xiao. You should also believe in him. Along the way, he has overcome many difficulties and experienced many hardships. But he has not been defeated. Chinya gritted his teeth and said, in case Ling Xiao can't hold on, I will risk my life to save him. I can only say sorry to all of you. Sister, what are you saying? Brother Ling Xiao has already done so much for us. If we do not save him when he is in danger, our conscience will be uneasy for the rest of our lives. Zilong said loudly. That's right, Your Majesty. Whatever you want to do, you can do it without worry. We are not afraid of death. Moreover, we are dying for young Master Ling Xiao. The people of the king's residence who survived were all loyal officials and good generals. Moreover, they were all saved by Ling Xiao. Therefore, they naturally would not watch Ling Xiao die. As he spoke, the limitless blade formation began to change. Gu Fenghua didn't want to see any more changes or accidents. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao in the shortest time possible. Suddenly, his body turned into a dazzling saber light. Like a sharp arrow, it shot towards Ling Xiao. Sky-severing saber chi that could even cut through the sky. This was also Gu Fenghua's signature move, a mid-6th order emperor-class martial skill. It seemed simple, but its power was terrifying. His body seemed to have become one with the saber chi. The huge blade covered Ling Xiao's entire body. If this saber had landed, Ling Xiao's entire body would have been chopped into minced meat. Ling Xiao, you've really surprised me. But today, I cannot let you live. Kill. Heaven-cleaving blade demon, Gu Fenghua had no intention of showing mercy. The powerful saber soul had also been released. Even an early 7th Order Emperor Realm cultivator wouldn't be able to block this attack. Gu Fenghua's attack was very sudden. His speed was also extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao could feel the power released from the huge saber that made his whole body tremble. But at this moment, he didn't know fear. At this moment, he was only angry. Slaughterhouse of fiend god seals. Ling Xiao didn't dare to slack off in the slightest when facing Gu Fenghua. He immediately used the powerful fiend god seals. In an instant, the sky was filled with blood-red sword chi. It was crazily shuttling back and forth. The huge saber was constantly hit by the blood-red sword chi, making a sound like a violent storm hitting metal. Crack! Crack! A moment later, the huge blade actually shattered into pieces, turning into bits of blade light that fell to the ground. Like a meteor shower, the ground was full of potholes. And all of this wasn't over yet. When the huge saber was destroyed, the blood-red sword qi was aimed at Gu Fenghua. Do you think I can't kill you without the blood-red thunder god? You think too highly of yourself, Gu Fenghua. Gu Fenghua's face suddenly changed. He could feel that although the power of Ling Zhao's sword wasn't as terrifying as the previous blood-red thunder god, it had definitely reached the point where it could seriously injure him. He didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. Yes, you can kill me. The biggest difference between you and me is that your status is too low and you don't have a backer. Gu Fenghua was full of pride for his background. With a wave of his hand, he took out another magic treasure. It was a round ball that glowed with a water blue light. It released a reassuring energy. The water god's blessing. Gu Fenghua muttered and released the magic treasure. His entire body was suddenly enveloped by a beautiful mist. The blood-red sword, qi, couldn't pierce through. This water god's blessing was brought back by my master from the deep-sea dragon domain. There's only one in the entire Dongxing country. In order to defeat you, I put in a lot of effort. Even if you have any trump cards today, they're useless in front of me. Speaking of which, Gu Fenghua still felt a little embarrassed. The protection of the water god was one of the most precious treasures of the Dongxing strong country. This was because the emperor of the Dongxing strong country had helped the deep-sea dragon region's oceanic race do something big. This made the deep-sea dragon domain's oceanic race feel greatly indebted. That was why he gave it to them. Its grade was a rare grade Heavenly King artifact. In the Purple Mansion Great Country, mortal grade Heavenly King artifacts were already extremely rare. Above the ordinary grade, there was still the fine grade. Gu Fenghua's saber was a fine Heavenly King artifact level treasure saber. As for the water god's blessing, it was an even higher grade Heavenly King artifact. It was of the same grade as the Blood Sovereign sword in Ling Zhao's hand. However, it was even rarer than the Blood Supreme sword, because it was a defensive magic treasure. Generally speaking, defensive magic treasures were more precious and rare than offensive magic treasures. Defensive magic treasures were 10 times more valuable than offensive magic treasures of the same grade. This item originally belonged to the Dongxing Emperor. When he heard that his son, Gu Fenghua, was in trouble, he temporarily lent it to Gu Fenghua. If the Dongxing Emperor knew that Gu Fenghua had borrowed the water god's blessing just to deal with an early 6th heavenly core warrior, he didn't know what to think. He would probably be embarrassed. But Gu Fenghua didn't care about him. As long as he could survive, as long as he could kill Ling Xiao, he didn't mind being embarrassed. He accepted it. Because of embarrassment and death, he could only choose one. Under the water god's blessing, Gu Fenghua was as arrogant as the Son of God. No one could break through the water god's blessing. The heaven-chopping saber in his hand shone brightly as he prepared for the next attack. The next attack would be right after Ling Zhao's slaughterhouse ended. He was waiting for Ling Xiao to run out of energy. This was because it was impossible for any move to last forever. There would eventually be a moment of exhaustion. Gu Fenghua thought he was in an invincible position, because the water god's blessing was much stronger than the severely damaged wind flame wheels. Chapter 3877. The original grade of the firestorm wheels had probably reached the celestial grade Heavenly King artifact level. It was a pity that the battle between Thief God and Huang Jindi, the firestorm wheels, had suffered heavy damage. In addition, the firestorm wheels had not been repaired for such a long time. Naturally, they were not as good as before. The blood-red sword qi in the slaughterhouse gradually dissipated. It became thin. Gu Fenghua revealed a cruel sneer. "Ling Xiao, your end has arrived. And today I am extremely powerful. Not to mention you, even if the Emperor of the East Shun Kingdom came personally. I'm going to kill him too." Sometimes anger could really make people become incomparably terrifying. Ling Zhao's potential was terrifying. Under his anger, his potential surged out. His cultivation actually soared crazily at that moment. He was not joking when he said that he would even kill the emperor of the East Shin Kingdom in order to live to see the Moon Lady, in order to know whether the Moon Lady was dead or alive. Today he had to win. Ridiculous guy, but in order to kill you, I'm still willing to go all out. Strengthening upgrade talisman. Strengthening sky-cleaving blade. Gu Fenghua really had a lot of treasures on him. Because this kid had suffered a loss once, he had become cautious all of a sudden, although he knew that with his strength, he did not have to fear Ling Xiao at all. But he still brought a lot of treasures. This strengthening upgrade talisman could turn the sky-cleaving blade in his hand into a rare grade Heavenly King artifact for a certain period of time. It was the same as the Blood Sovereign sword in Ling Xiao's hand. With a flash of light, the sky-cleaving blade was upgraded. Gu Fenghua's smile became even brighter. Limitless blade technique, heaven-defying blade. It was still the 7th Order Emperor grade martial technique, coupled with the rare grade Heavenly King artifact, sky-cleaving blade. The blade slashed down, and the terrifying blade light was covered with complicated incantations. This blade was obviously not just a martial technique, but also seemed to be integrated with a secret technique. The limitless blade technique was indeed terrifying. This heaven-defying blade was truly stunning. Feeling this terrifying blade chi, Ling Xiao frowned. A huge pressure was released from the blade. The potential in Ling Xiao's body began to surge out even more crazily. Boom! At that moment, Ling Xiao felt his strength increase. A breakthrough in cultivation. Early to middle stage. Although it was only a small step, it still increased Ling Xiao's chances of winning. Tyrannical Celestial Demon Seal. Bloodthirsty Forest. Ling Xiao finally used the power of the Tyrant Martial Spirit. Because if he didn't use it now, even if his cultivation increased, he wouldn't be Gu Fenghua's match. In that instant, the entire limitless saber array turned into a pitch-black universe. Then, a terrifying scene appeared. In the void, countless giant starry sky beasts pounced on Gu Fenghua. Even though Gu Fenghua's heaven-defying saber strike was extremely domineering, one giant star beast after another was killed, but in the end he was still outnumbered and sent flying. Even if it was the blessing of the water god, it still trembled a few times. Blood flowed from the corner of Gu Fenghua's mouth. What? Gu Fenghua touched the blood at the corner of her mouth and was shocked. Ling Xiao's attack had not only destroyed his saber chi, but it had also injured him despite the water god's protection. Although it was only a minor injury, it was not worth mentioning. But this was too inconceivable. If it wasn't for the water god's protection, Gu Fenghua believed that this attack would be able to shatter him into pieces. To his shock, he realized that the power of Ling Xiao's attack had surpassed the blood lightning god. I never thought that you would be able to increase your cultivation in the middle of a fight. That's why you killed my junior sister Qing Mashua, right? Not only did she fail to kill you, she even gave you a chance to break through, and in the end she was killed. Although Gu Fenghua spoke casually, he was extremely shocked in his heart. He had never seen an opponent like this before. He was able to continuously break through in the middle of a fight. In less than half a month, he had broken through to the early 6th divine core realm. This was already shocking enough, but now he had broken through again. Was he still human? Gu Fenghua took a deep breath. He tried his best to calm himself down. So what if you've broken through? Your overall strength is still weaker than mine. I'm afraid that's your most powerful attack. But so what? With the water god's protection, you can't hurt me. No, even if you're hurt, it's only a minor injury. I can recover in just a moment. Do you think you still have a chance of winning? Gu Fenghua's words weren't meant to attack Ling Xiao, but to comfort himself. He was trying to numb himself. He was telling himself that he was stronger than Ling Xiao, telling himself that he was invincible, and that there was no way he would lose to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's face was still expressionless. Apart from indifference, there was only indifference. Once he unleashed his martial soul of tyrant, There was no way out. He had to win today, even if he didn't want to. He had to take down Gu Fenghua. If not, not only would he have to die, all the men behind him would have to die as well. Even those who secretly came from the western region would have to die as well. Gu Fenghua had said that he was going to wash the entire Purple Spirit Kingdom with blood, and those men were all within the Purple Spirit Kingdom's territory. No matter what, I have to win. Ling Zhao's fighting spirit was at its peak. Just like Gu Fenghua, they both had a reason why they couldn't lose. Up until now, his martial soul of tyrant had only appeared in its most basic form. It was just a boost to his martial skills, a boost to his fighting strength. He had never really used the power of the martial soul of tyrant. Today he was going to give it a try. Anyway, the consequences of using the martial soul of tyrant would be better than using the bloody devil rat. He wouldn't use the bloody devil rat unless he had no other choice. After all, the price was too high. But the martial soul of tyrant was different. Ancient, primitive, overbearing, and terrifying power gradually merged into Ling Zhao's body. Possession of the tyrant. The possession of a martial spirit was a very common thing. But it was the first time that a martial soul like the martial soul of tyrant was possessed. Ling Zhao had never done it before, at least not in front of his enemies. He had tried it in private before. He knew how terrifying that power was. Ling Zhao's body gradually turned into nothingness. His consciousness was gradually connected to the whole world. The mountains and rivers seemed to have become his hands and feet. He could overturn rivers and seas and destroy the world with a single thought. Of course, this was something that could happen after he became stronger. At this stage, the only thing that he could control was the power between heaven and earth. The power of the Heavenly Queen of Earth had been completely merged into the martial soul of Tyrant. It had become a part of the universe. What the hell is this? Why does Ling Zhao seem to be gradually disappearing? Also, what's with the feeling of being filled with the power to destroy the world? Everyone looked at Ling Zhao, but Ling Zhao disappeared in front of their eyes. But they could clearly feel Ling Zhao's aura in the limitless saber formation. But that aura didn't feel like a human at all. It felt like heaven, like earth, like the ruler of all things. It was hard to explain, but it was indeed terrifying. Chapter 3878. What kind of opponent have I encountered? What kind of martial soul is this? I've never heard of or seen it before. Gu Fenghua had heard of the mountain river martial soul, but it didn't look like this. The mountain river martial soul could allow a martial artist to control the power of mountains and rivers, but the martial artist himself wouldn't disappear. Compared to the current situation, the difference was a little too great. This should be his true martial spirit. The others are just supplementary. Yu Fenghua also looked at this scene in shock. She was astonished. She had lost her memories of her previous life. So she didn't know that Ling Zhao had the Sky Tyrant martial soul. She just thought it was best not to expose this martial soul. Otherwise, it would attract the attention of many people. That's impossible. What kind of thing are you? Gu Fenghua asked in horror. Don't you think it's too late to ask this question now? I'm the chaos. I'm the universe. I'm the vitality of all things. What do you think you're fighting against? It's a battle between heaven and earth. Do you understand? Ling Zhao's cold voice sounded. He didn't want to use the power of the Sky Tyrant possession. On one hand, he was afraid of exposing himself. On the other hand, it was mainly because his physical body was still too weak. His cultivation was still too low. He could only maintain this state for 10 breaths. After 10 breaths, he wouldn't be able to use the Sky Tyrant martial soul for a period of time. This was also a rather troublesome matter. However, as long as he could kill Gu Fenghua, it was all worth it. It was much better than using the bloody devil rat. Under the Sky Tyrant possession state, Ling Zhao could use the most powerful attack. It was the attack of the Heavenly Queen. The Heavenly Queen transformed into the Firmament Fist, the Sun Fist, the Cold Moon Fist, and the Storm Fist. The Heavenly Sword, the Heavenly Punishment Sword, the myriad lightning sword, and the demon subduing sword. The heavenly queen transformed into the shield of earth, the light of life, the wrath of 10,000 spirits, and the tree of world. She waved the scepter in her hand, and huge beasts stood up on the ground, roaring at the dark space. This was the protest of the creatures of the earth, the fury of the beasts. She waved her scepter again, and the terrifying lava turned into a giant dragon. The raging waves turned into a giant whale, and the mountain rocks turned into giants. In the world of the tyrannical martial spirit, Ling Xiao was the master. Imperial Heaven Hutu was the spokesperson. Facing this overwhelming attack, Gu Fenghua had a feeling that she was unable to resist at all. He felt like he was a bug that no one cared about in this world. It was a confrontation with nature. There wasn't even the slightest chance of winning. In that instant, his fighting spirit completely collapsed. The water god's blessings crumbled under the royal Heaven Hutu's continuous attacks, gradually shattering. Then, the violent attacks drowned Gu Fenghua. He was the genius who ranked 7th on the Eastern Victory Combat Prowess list. In the end, he died in a rather vexed manner, but he couldn't do anything. Facing Ling Xiao, who was possessed by Tyrant Sky, there was only one outcome for him. The limitless blade formation was also destroyed, and the attacks poured down in torrents. The people of the Purple Mansion army fled like crazy. Unfortunately, not a single person was able to escape this sky-covering attack. Over 1 million soldiers, including the Purple Mansion Kingdom's King Chinyu and the Purple Mansion Marshal, all died in battle. Everyone in the capital of Violet Spirit City was shocked by this scene. They had never seen someone with such terrifying attacks. In that instant, they even thought that Ling Xiao wasn't Ling Xiao at all, but a great god from the primordial era. "Sister, it seems like your man is a very impressive fellow. Do you want to go meet him?" Bai Shui looked at Yu Fenghua and asked. Yu Fenghua quietly looked at Ling Xiao in the distance. She was hesitating. Although she said that they shouldn't meet at this time for fear of causing trouble for Ling Xiao, she had already found her man. However, she had already found the man she loved. How could she bear to turn around and leave just like that? Just as he was hesitating, a beam of white light suddenly shot down from the sky. The terrifying white light contained shocking killing intent. Yu Fenghua and Bai Shui hurriedly dodged. While dodging, they also exposed their aura. Ling Xiao, who had just escaped from Tyrant's possession, saw the girl he was chasing after. His angry expression instantly turned into a surprised one. "Fenghua!" Surprised, he dashed towards her. Although the fight with Gu Fenghua had exhausted him, after swallowing the pill, he was fine. "Don't come any closer!" Yu Fenghua hastily shouted. Right at this moment, 4 figures appeared in the sky. Although these 4 figures were wearing different outfits, they were all wearing masks, as if they didn't want to reveal their faces. But one thing was for sure, they were all very strong. Ling Xiao could only see the cultivation of one of them with his Tai Chi eye, but he was a peak 8th divine core warrior. This was the cultivation of the Blood Sword Reverend. As for the other 3, Jiang Qin couldn't see through them at all. In other words, they were at least 9th divine core warriors. So the reason why young Miss Fenghua from the Eternal Palace ran away was because of a piece of trash like this? What a joke! If this were to spread out, the Eternal Palace would become the biggest joke in the world. No wonder the Eternal Emperor didn't allow you to come out. One of the men wearing a dragon mask said with a mocking tone, "Who are you? You know Big Sister is from the Eternal Palace. Why did you sneak attack her?" Bai Shui questioned. "It doesn't matter who we are. The most important thing is, you have to leave today." Another slightly chubby man wearing a tiger mask said with a muffled voice. "With just you?" Bai Shui said coldly. "That's right, with just us." The third man had a skinny body, and he was wearing a lion mask. He was emitting a gloomy aura. These 3 men were the ones Ling Xiao couldn't see through with his Tai Chi eye. As for the 4th man, he was wearing a white wolf mask, and he was the weakest amongst the 4 men. But he was still not someone Ling Xiao could fight against. He was much stronger than Gu Fenghua. Lao Er, Lao San, both of you fight that white hawk together. Be careful, that guy is pretty strong. I'll deal with Yu Fenghua. As for Lao Si, you go and capture that man called Ling Xiao. With him around, Yu Fenghua won't be able to attack without fear of breaking the vases. As soon as he finished speaking, the man with the dragon mask had already pounced on Yu Fenghua. Lao Er and Lao San also charged at Bai Shui. As for Lao Si, the man wearing the white wolf mask wasn't very satisfied. Big brother, is it worth it for me to take action against trash like him? Don't talk nonsense. He may be trash, but the goddess of the Eternal Palace likes trash like him. Only by capturing him can we truly control Her Highness the Goddess. The man with the dragon mask had already started fighting with Yu Fenghua. As they clashed, the diamond dragon trapping array of Violet Spirit's capital city began to shake, and cracks even appeared. One must know that the place where they were fighting was over 1,000 meters away from Violet Spirit's capital city. This was a battle between absolute powerhouses. Ling Xiao run. No matter what, escape first. I'll be fine. Chapter 38-79. Yu Fenghua knew how strong the enemy was. That's why she shouted at Ling Xiao to run away. But Ling Xiao didn't run away. Yu Fenghua was right in front of him. The woman he had spent so much effort chasing was right in front of him. Why should he run away? At this moment, he didn't care about anything else. Even if his cultivation dropped to the divine vein realm, he didn't care. He had worked so hard for so long and experienced so many hardships. Now, seeing his woman being attacked, she wanted him to run away. He didn't want to. Even if it was the Moon Maiden, he couldn't accept it. Sister Qianya, lead us into the heavenly devil's ruin now. He shouted towards the ground. Suddenly, a blood-red true Yuan emerged from his body. Sanguine rat. This was a heaven-defying skill that he had to avoid no matter what. Because it was too powerful, the side effects were too great. That's why he didn't want to use it. But at this moment, he had no choice but to use it. He didn't care what would happen if he used it. He wouldn't die. It was just a drop in his cultivation. With his cultivation speed, he would be able to recover in no time. Although his cultivation would drop, the strength of his body wouldn't drop. He wouldn't become too weak. Furthermore, in order to protect his woman, and in order to fight this battle, he had been waiting for this for a very long time. As long as he didn't die, he could accept anything. If he died, he would lose everything. Even if he lost all his cultivation, he could still cultivate it back. Right now, it was as if his blood was burning. Even the peerless heavenly rat's transformation had turned blood red. It had blood red wings and blood red skin. Ling Xiao was desperately burning his true yuan. He was trying to make his combat strength skyrocket. The sanguine rat had 3 transformations. The first one increased his combat strength by 2 times. Actually, the effect wasn't that great because Ling Xiao had too many methods to increase his combat strength. The increase in the sanguine rat's combat strength was negligible. Of course, the first transformation didn't have any side effects. The second transformation increased his combat strength by 10 times. This was extremely useful, but after using it, his cultivation would drop by 1 stage. For example, he was now a mid-6th level divine core warrior. So, a drop of 1 stage meant he was a mid-5th level divine core warrior. This drop was still acceptable, and it didn't put too much of a burden on his body. The 3rd stage of the transformation was even more terrifying. It directly increased his combat power by 100 times. However, after using it, one's cultivation level would drop by an entire realm. He was currently at the mid-6th divine core realm, and that meant his cultivation would drop to the 6th divine vein realm. Not only that, but after using it, his body would also suffer a very serious burden, and he might even be seriously injured. His life was in danger. However, he didn't care. As long as he was still breathing, life reversal and fiery rebirth would bring him back to life. His opponent was too strong, a perfect 8th divine core warrior. It was definitely not something the Bloodsucker's second transformation could handle. Therefore, from the very beginning, he directly used the third transformation of the Bloodsucker. He felt a tearing pain in his body. However, his strength continued to rise. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to use the third stage transformation was because his fleshly body was strong enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long and would self-destruct. This trash actually has such a trick up his sleeve. The White Wolf masked man was stunned. In fact, he had already seen the battle between Ling Xiao and Gu Fenghua. Ling Xiao's Sky Tyrant possession had already surprised him greatly. However, it was still nothing in front of him. But now, Ling Xiao's Bloodsucker had truly shocked him, a mid-6th divine core warrior, and he could sense that his aura was almost as strong as his own. How was this possible? Ling Xiao. Yu Fenghua was getting anxious. Although she didn't know what kind of transformation Ling Xiao had undergone, she knew very well what was going on. To achieve such a terrifying increase in strength, he had to pay a huge price. Focus on the battle, don't worry about me. Although I have to pay a huge price, I won't die. Ling Xiao smiled and said, Since we finally met again, let's work together and defeat these enemies. Although he didn't know who these 4 terrifying men were, he had no idea who they were. Since they wanted to capture Yu Fenghua, they were his enemies, and he couldn't let them succeed. All right. Yu Fenghua took a deep breath. Since her man had come to this realization, there was no need for her to waste any more time. The most important thing was to end the battle as soon as possible. Ha 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 ha, what a joke! The White Wolf masked man let out a crazy laugh. You think trash like you can use some secret skill to increase your strength? You think you're my match? You're ridiculous. I smell something fishy. Could you be warriors from the deep sea dragon realm? Ling Xiao didn't care about his mockery. While continuing to increase his combat strength, he asked with a cold voice. And the White Wolf masked man was startled. They were indeed from the deep sea dragon realm. They came to the Dongsheng kingdom to make a deal with the Dongsheng emperor. But they didn't expect to meet the Dongsheng emperor's son and the goddess from the eternal palace. At first, they thought Gu Fenghua would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao, so they didn't plan to interfere. Their original plan was to wait for Gu Fenghua to kill Ling Xiao, then make Yu Fenghua sad. Then they would suddenly attack. Their hope was greater, but who would have thought that Gu Fenghua, that trash, would lose? She lost to that guy called Ling Xiao. They wore masks because they didn't want to expose their identities. After all, no one wanted to start a war between the Eternal Emperor realm and the Deep Sea Dragon realm. But the troublesome thing was, this guy actually saw through them at a glance. He looks like I guessed right. I've killed quite a number of your sea tribes, rotten fish and shrimps. Since you're here today, don't go back. Once Ling Xiao used the bloody devil rat, there would naturally be a result. Otherwise, it would be too much of a loss. Bullsh *T. The White Wolf masked man was enraged. You're courting death. He suddenly attacked, turned into an afterimage, and blasted his palm towards Ling Xiao. In his imagination, this palm would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao directly. But, to his surprise, Ling Xiao shook the blood sovereign sword in his hand, and a sword chi actually shattered his palm wind, forcing him to retreat. This is impossible. What kind of secret technique can actually increase your combat strength to such an extent? This is simply cheating. The White Wolf masked man was dumbfounded. Are you surprised? Although my combat strength is still slightly weaker than yours, it's still not enough. However, this small gap is not enough for you to crush me. Ling Xiao's combat strength had reached its limit, and it was basically equivalent to a mid-8th level divine core warrior. Compared to the White Wolf masked man, there was still a gap, but the gap wasn't that big anymore. From being instantly killed, he was now able to fight back. This bloody devil rat's improvement was truly terrifying, but the price he had to pay was huge as well. Ling Xiao's cultivation would drop to the 6th level of the divine vein realm because of this. But if the price was to save his life, if he had to save his woman, it was definitely worth it. Chapter 3880. Ling Xiao also noticed it. Right now, both sides were in a delicate balance. Yu Fenghua's strength was on par with the masked divine dragon mask. Bai Shui was stronger than Yu Fenghua, and she was able to fight the masked tiger mask and lion mask without any fear. Therefore, the key to the outcome of this battle was the battle between him and the masked white wolf mask. If he lost, then their side would probably be finished. If he won, the situation would change completely. Therefore, he couldn't lose, he had to win. This was related to his and Yu Fenghua's future. Facing the masked white wolf mask, Ling Xiao wasn't completely without advantages. In terms of the strength of his true yuan, he might be weaker than the masked white wolf mask. But in terms of the strength of his body, he was stronger than the masked white wolf mask. In terms of speed, combined with the cosmic body, blood lightning god, and Luo Mei's clear shadow steps, he was definitely stronger than the masked white wolf mask. As for weapons, the blood sovereign sword in his hand was a rare grade heavenly king weapon. The masked white wolf mask's claw weapon was also a rare grade heavenly king weapon. There wasn't much difference between the two, but martial skills were a little troublesome. The masked white wolf mask was a true perfect 8th grade divine core warrior, and he could at least use a 7th grade emperor realm martial skill. As for Jiang Chen's strongest martial skill, it was only the innate fiend god seal. It was a 7th grade emperor realm martial skill, but with the help of the sky tyrant martial soul, its strength should be able to reach a 7th grade emperor realm martial skill. If the masked white wolf mask had an 8th grade emperor realm martial skill, then it would be troublesome. But even so, Ling Xiao still had 3 big advantages. First, his soul strength was equivalent to a perfect 9th grade divine core warrior. Second, he had 2 divine cores from an extreme core warrior in his body. Third, he had the trait of becoming more and more courageous in battle. Although the quality of his true yuan wasn't as good as his masked white wolf masks, the quantity was much higher. Therefore, it was hard to tell who would win in this battle. Each of them had their own advantages and disadvantages. After the masked white wolf mask's first attack, he suddenly stopped. Looking at his blood-red transformation, he furrowed his brows. Ling Xiao, this person whom he had repeatedly called trash, made him feel a strong sense of fear. This doesn't make sense. What kind of secret technique is this? How could it be so abnormal? A mere mid-6th divine core warrior was able to make him a perfect 8th divine core warrior. Feel threatened? This is unheard of. Are you surprised? That was how it should be. If I don't kill you after using such a terrifying power, I'll feel that it's a loss. Ling Xiao's transformation had basically ended. He could feel the terrifying and invasive energy gushing out of his body. His entire body released an earth-shattering pressure. In that instant, the white wolf masked man retreated several hundred meters away. To his horror, he discovered that he was not facing a human, but a terrifying demonic beast that blotted out the sky. That terrifying pressure was enough to make him tremble with fear. *CK. What happened? After stabilizing his mind, the white wolf masked man realized that this was simply an illusion. Damn, small fry. You actually made a fool of me. If I don't kill you today, I'm not human. This kind of heaven-defying secret technique can't be maintained for a long time. I want to see what your outcome will be. You're not human to begin with. Ling Xiao, who was in his bloody rat form, had become extremely calm and indifferent. It was as if all his emotions had disappeared. What replaced them was a cold, killing intent. Pretentious fool. I've seen too many people like you. You've cultivated some kind of secret technique, and you think you're invincible. But you have to know this kind of power isn't the right path. It's the evil path. The white wolf masked man tried his best to calm himself down. He was trying to comfort himself. It doesn't matter if it's the evil path or the right path. As long as I can kill people, it's fine. Ling Zhao's voice was emotionless. It was as if he was talking with a cold blade. Fine, I'll play with you then. Let's see how powerful this evil path of yours is. The white wolf masked man looked down on Gu Fenghua, let alone Ling Xiao. But now he felt that he had to be serious. Ling Xiao gave him a very dangerous feeling. Wrath of the sea beast, devil of tides. The white wolf masked man didn't dare approach Ling Xiao. He stood a few 100 meters away. He unleashed his martial soul. It was a gigantic sea beast. It had a strange appearance. Overall, it looked more like a gigantic octopus, but there were many differences. But one had to admit that this guy's martial soul was very frightening. Following the unleashing of his martial soul, he swung both of his claws in the air. In the void, a pair of huge claws formed by water elements clawed at Ling Xiao. It carried an indomitable, ferocious aura. This move was a 7th Order Emperor Realm martial skill. The white wolf masked man didn't underestimate Ling Xiao. Using a 7th Order Emperor Realm martial skill to kill a mid-6th Divine Core Warrior was like using a cannon to kill a mosquito in many people's eyes. A powerful attack, but too bad. It still can't break through my defense. Heavenly Devil Bone. Firestorm Wheels. 2 layers of defense were unleashed. With the help of Ling Zhao's powerful energy, the firestorm wheels formed 3 defensive walls. The gigantic claws broke through the walls of wind and fire, but when they collided with the wall of electricity, they shattered into pieces. The wall of electricity was the strongest layer of defense. It was merged with the blood lightning god's energy. Awesome! Truly worthy of being an attack from a perfect 8th level divine core warrior. With just this attack, the energy in my cultivation sea has increased by 90%. Ling Xiao was laughing in his mind. In order to defeat the white wolf masked man, he had to become stronger, and breaking through to the next level was the key. At the very least, he had to break through to the perfect 6th level divine core realm. Firestorm wheels? Are those the legendary firestorm wheels used by the god of thieves? So tough. The white wolf masked man furrowed his brows. He didn't expect his attack to fail to leave any wounds on Ling Zhao's body. This made his expression turn ugly. If a 7th Order Emperor martial skill doesn't work, then I'll use a mid-order Emperor martial skill. Claw of the Sea God. The furious white wolf masked man once again clawed through the air, unleashing an attack 10 times stronger than the previous one. Furthermore, the speed of this attack was much faster than the previous one. In an instant, it arrived in front of Ling Xiao. Finally, the wall of electricity collapsed, but the black tortoise divine body's defense had blocked the attack. Once again, Ling Xiao was safe and sound. Furthermore, his cultivation had broken through. Late 6th level divine core realm. Such a good martial skill, it's a waste for you to use it. Ling Xiao sneered. If I were you, I could have easily killed you with the same attack. Bullshit. Devour the sea devil. The white wolf masked man didn't seem to have a good temper. He was a man who was easily angered. Facing the unkillable Ling Xiao, he once again upgraded his martial skill. High 7th Order Emperor Realm. Devour the sea devil. The gigantic octopus turned into an attack and leapt towards Ling Xiao. In the sky, nothing else could be seen except for the gigantic sea devil, which covered the entire sky. It brought Ling Xiao a lot of pressure. Chapter 3881. Hold on. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. He could dodge the attack, but he couldn't. He had to increase his cultivation level. If he wanted to increase his cultivation level as soon as possible, he had to take this attack head-on. I didn't expect that trash of a boyfriend of yours to be so strong. He can actually block 2 attacks from White Wolf. But this time he won't have the chance. White Wolf's Devour Sea Devil is something that even an early 9th level Divine Core Warrior can't withstand. The Divine Dragon, masked man, coldly harumphed. He wanted to attack Yu Fenghua, because in the battle he found that no matter what he did, he could not completely suppress Yu Fenghua. This woman was too strong. On the other side, the lion masked man and the tiger masked man were in a tough battle as well. Originally, the two of them joined hands to deal with Bai Shui, wanting to end the battle quickly. But no matter how hard they attacked, White Snow wouldn't be in a disadvantageous position. The two battles had reached a stalemate, and they could only rely on White Wolf to win. As long as White Wolf could kill Ling Xiao or capture Ling Xiao, Yu Fenghua would definitely reveal her weakness. At that time, the battle would truly end. I believe in him, Yu Fenghua said with an indifferent tone. This man was able to walk all the way from a small city in the western region and create countless miracles. He was able to increase his cultivation to such a level, and even kill the crown prince of the Eastern Victory Kingdom, Gu Fenghua. What miracles couldn't he create? That white wolf was indeed strong, but she believed in Ling Xiao's strength more. In her eyes, this man was invincible. Bang! Right at this moment, the Devour Sea Devil landed on Ling Xiao's body. The black, tortoise divine body only lasted for a brief moment, then it exploded. But before the white wolf masked man could feel happy, the terrifying heavenly devil's shadow appeared. The heavenly devil's bone took effect, and once again it blocked white wolf masked man's attack. Although this time Ling Xiao was sent flying a few hundred meters away, his injuries weren't serious. However, his injuries were not serious. Only a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He wiped the blood away from his mouth. Then an excited smile appeared on his face. "Thank you, stranger. Your attack, it made me feel good." Finally, he had broken through. He had broken through to the peak 6th divine core realm. When he was in the sanguinary rat form, he could unleash the frightening combat strength of a perfect 8th divine core warrior. This could be considered as standing on the same starting line as the white wolf mask. Damn it! Sea Devil Devour! The white wolf mask saw that Ling Xiao was not dead. In anger, he once again burst out with the same attack. But in the next moment, he was dumbfounded, because Ling Xiao had actually disappeared in front of him. He hurriedly used his divine sense to capture Ling Xiao's whereabouts. However, there was none. What's going on? This guy's aura suddenly disappeared? The white wolf masked man was terrified for a moment. However, his combat experience was still very rich. Not noticing Ling Xiao's presence, he hurriedly put up a powerful defense. At that moment, a sword pierced out from behind him. What a pity, your reaction is quite fast. Ling Xiao's voice sounded, making the white wolf mask's hair stand on end. If it wasn't for him instinctively putting up a defense, this sword would have definitely pierced through his heart. Even if he didn't die, he would still be severely injured. At this moment, the white wolf mask finally realized how frightening Ling Xiao was. This seemingly insignificant guy actually possessed such frightening strength. This was unbelievable. See God's claw! In a hurry, the white wolf mask simply swung his claw towards the blood sovereign sword. The two forces collided, and both men were sent flying away at the same time. This guy, not only is he terrifyingly fast, the weapon in his hand is also not ordinary. I've misjudged him. The white wolf mask's eyes were filled with shock. Although she couldn't see his expression, she could see his face very clearly. What kind of monster are you? The white wolf mask furrowed his brows and asked. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to answer this question. It was just a question he had in his mind. He was from the Ocean Clan. The Ocean Clan was naturally more talented than humans. But even so, he was still suppressed by this tiny Ling Xiao. I am whatever you think I am. Ling Xiao looked at the white wolf mask indifferently. He wasn't afraid of wasting time, because once he entered the state of the bloody rat, as long as he didn't remove it, it wouldn't disappear. The bloody rat would keep consuming his vital essence and physical strength. But that was nothing to him, because his true essence and physical strength were much more than the martial artists of the same realm. It wouldn't be a problem for him to continue like this for 2 or 3 hours. As long as it didn't exceed 2 hours, he had nothing to fear. I give you some sunshine and you're so brilliant. Do you really think that's all I have? Dragon Clan Martial Arts, Raging Tide Strike. It was also an advanced 7th level Emperor class martial arts technique, but this Dragon Clan martial arts seemed to be a little different. When the White Wolf mask displayed it, it actually had the terrifying aura of an elementary 8th level Emperor class martial arts technique. Even Ling Xiao had to take it seriously. A blue divine dragon spiraled out and flew out from the White Wolf mask's claws. It let out a dragon's roar and pounced on Ling Xiao. The power of this attack was indeed more terrifying than the Sea Demon Devourer. However, Ling Xiao just watched coldly at this time. The power of this attack was indeed terrifying, and its speed had already surpassed his. But speed wasn't all about the falling plum, clear shadow step. The most terrifying part of the falling plum clear shadow step was its strangeness. The plum blossoms danced in the sky. Ling Xiao raised his foot and took a step forward. He had actually managed to dodge the terrifying attack of the raging tide in the nick of time. Not only that, he had already arrived in front of the White Wolf mask. The blood-red blood sovereign's sword erupted with a resplendent strike. It pierced the White Wolf mask's shoulder blade. His target was of course the throat, but the other party avoided it. "Idiot, you've been fooled." The White Wolf mask sneered. Although Ling Xiao was faster than him, he also had a powerful movement technique. It was impossible for him to be hit by Ling Xiao's attack so easily. He did this because he relied on his strong vitality to set a trap for Ling Xiao. He used himself as bait to lure Ling Xiao to make a mistake. As he spoke, he released a tentacle behind him and entangled Ling Xiao's right hand that was holding the sword. At the same time, he waved his claws and blasted towards Ling Xiao's head. At such a close distance, the sea god's claw is enough to crush your head. Is that so? I don't think so. People who dare to get so close to me are generally courting death. Hell's undying bird, hellfire. The crazy flame instantly burned on Ling Xiao's body. The tentacle was instantly burned. The White Wolf mask exclaimed and hurriedly retreated to escape. He even had no choice but to cut off his own tentacle. Immortal fire. It's actually an immortal fire. In this world, no one can control an immortal fire. How did you do it? The White Wolf mask could still feel the tingling pain on his body. He thought that he had set a trap for Ling Xiao, but he didn't expect that in a battle of wits and courage, Ling Xiao would not lose to him. Knowing that it was bait, Ling Xiao still wanted to eat it. Naturally, it was because he also had his own ideas. Chapter 3882. The fear on the White Wolf mask's face had reached its peak. If this guy was just relying on some secret skill to increase his strength, it would be fine, but he was actually able to use the immortal flame. Something like this. Even the overlords of the 4 major regions couldn't do it. This guy, who the hell was he? At this moment, he was standing nearly 1,000 meters away from Ling Xiao, still recovering from his shock. This wasn't the first time he had chosen to run away, and every time he did, it would make people tremble with fear. Didn't you want to kill me? Why are you running away? Ling Xiao looked at the White Wolf mask with disdain and mocked him. Damn it! How dare you look down on me? If that's the case, I'll show you the true strength of the Ocean Tribe. You have your beast soul transformation, and I have my sea soul transformation. How could the White Wolf mask endure this? Being looked down on by a 6th divine core warrior, this was a huge blow to his pride. Don't look down on a perfect 8th divine core warrior from the Ocean Tribe. Sea God's physique. This special transformation was something only the geniuses of the Ocean Tribe could awaken. And this White Wolf mask happened to be one of the geniuses of the Ocean Tribe, an outstanding existence in the deep sea dragon region. If not, those 2 mighty warriors wouldn't have brought him to the Eastern Victory Kingdom for the trade. The purpose of this trip was to let him gain some experience. Right after the transformation was completed, the White Wolf mask's entire body was covered by a thick layer of seawater. Every single drop of water contained a terrifying amount of energy. As for his martial soul, the sea devil, it had turned into a real sea devil formed from seawater. It waved its tentacles behind the white wolf mask's back, threatening Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao couldn't help but furrow his brows. This guy wasn't bluffing. The sea god's physique had increased the white wolf mask's combat strength by a few times. Not only that, he now had a powerful helper. This wasn't a good thing for Ling Xiao. To be honest, there aren't many people who can force me to unleash the sea god's physique. Among the younger generation, I've only met 2 or 3 people who can do that. But those people's cultivation bases are stronger than mine. You're special. Your cultivation base is so much weaker than mine. But you forced me to unleash this divine skill. I'll remember your name. You should be proud of this. To be honest, the white wolf masked man was quite excited. Originally, when his family told him to come to the Dongsheng strong country to train, he was a little disdainful. What kind of expert could there be in the Dongsheng strong country that was worthy of him going all out? But now he had encountered one. His fighting spirit blossomed crazily. Ling Xiao looked at the white wolf mask and knew that this battle would be very dangerous. However, since he had transformed into the 3rd stage sanguinary devil rat, and with his peak 6 divine core cultivation base, he was able to unleash his full strength. How could he be afraid of his opponent? With a sneer, his figure once again turned into a sword light and attacked the white wolf mask. The blood sovereign sword in his hand released a terrifying killing intent. To be honest, in terms of martial skills, Ling Xiao was no match for his opponent. But in terms of defense and physical strength, his opponent was no match for him. Therefore, his martial skills and attacks were all targeted at his opponent's physical body, instead of contending with the opponent's martial skill. In any case, he was fast enough. The initiative was in his hands. Tyrannical blood shadow kill. Tyrannical phantom kill. Tyrannical multiple shadow slashes. Tyrannical blood shadow clone slash. All of his attacks were merged with the tyrannical martial soul's energy, and each of his attacks were targeted at the white wolf mask's physical body. This made the white wolf mask feel extremely uncomfortable. Damn you! Do you think you can make me submit with this? Sea devil, kill him! While using the water elemental energy to defend himself, the white wolf mask ordered the sea devil to attack Ling Xiao's body. With the combination of his martial soul, he didn't believe that he couldn't hurt Ling Xiao. However, his happiness soon disappeared. Although the sea devil's attacks were powerful, they still couldn't touch Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's falling plum clear shadow steps was a miraculous skill. No wonder the thief god was able to travel freely in the golden, heavenly region. Apart from the firestorm wheels, he also relied on this falling plum clear shadow steps. The falling plum clear shadow steps wasn't a high-ranked skill, because it was relatively easy for him to cultivate. However, this movement skill had a special feature. The stronger the warrior was, the faster the speed and the better the effect. The strongest movement skill could even reach the level of an 8th grade Emperor realm movement skill. Facing the white wolf mask, Ling Xiao naturally had the upper hand. Damn it, Sea Devil. Use your strongest move and cooperate with me. After the white wolf mask gave the order, the Sea Devil suddenly roared. For a moment, the air was filled with tentacles. On the white wolf mask side, he also released water droplets to protect him. Those water droplets were like sharp arrows. They completely wrapped Ling Xiao. Kid, let's see how you dodge this time. Although your speed is fast, this kind of airtight attack should be your weakness. The white wolf mask finally revealed a smug expression. Weakness? Are you thinking with your thighs? Innate god-fiend seal, tyrannical slaughterhouse. Ling Xiao sneered and merged with the power of the tyrannical martial soul. For a moment, blood-red sword chi was released crazily with his body as the center. It was as if the entire sky had become Ling Xiao's home ground. The huge sea devil was directly torn into pieces. With a scream, it returned behind the white wolf mask. It turned back into a martial soul. That thing was not a real sea devil after all. It was just condensed by water elements. Therefore, its attack power was not bad, but its defense power was far from it. At this time, the White Wolf Mask found that his water droplets could not resist the terrifying blood-red sword chi. As a last resort, he could only hurriedly urge the water droplets to defend. Only then did he avoid the tragedy of being cut into pieces. Ling Xiao's martial skills were not as good as the opponent's, but under the enhancement of the tyrannical martial soul, the innate God-Fiend seal, a 7th grade Emperor Realm martial skill, could fully exert the power of a 7th grade Emperor Realm martial skill. Innate God-Fiend seal, tyrannical Bat Cave. The slaughterhouse had just ended. Before the White Wolf Mask could catch his breath, Ling Xiao's next attack came. A terrifying ultrasonic wave sounded. Although the people outside could not hear it, the White Wolf Mask covered his ears in pain at that moment. The huge black bat, like a giant beast that swallowed the starry sky, pounced on him. Ah! One of the White Wolf Mask's arms was bitten, and it was painful. Ah! Then his leg was bitten again. The White Wolf Mask felt as if he had entered a terrifying bat cave. There were enemies everywhere. It was full of darkness everywhere. In this bat cave, both eyes and divine sense were useless. The only useful thing was hearing. But the problem was that the ultrasonic wave attack had completely destroyed his hearing. He could only desperately urge the sea god's body to defend. His body was resplendent again and again. It was destroyed. At this time, the White Wolf Mask finally felt the fear of death. His fighting spirit also began to fade. He originally thought that if the battle continued, the guy opposite would definitely become a weakling when the secret skills effect ended. But the battle had lasted for nearly half an hour, and the opponent did not seem to be exhausted at all. On the contrary, his combat power seemed to be getting more and more fierce. He had reached the feeling that he was above him. Chapter 3883. In fact, the White Wolf Masked Man should be glad that Ling Xiao had used the Sky Tyrant's possession technique against Gu Fenghua. Otherwise, the combination of the bloody demonic rat and the Sky Tyrant's possession, he would have been a corpse by now. Stop! There is no enmity between us. There is no need to fight to the death. I can't kill you, but it's impossible for you to kill me either. The White Wolf Masked Man suddenly shouted. After all, he had too little actual combat experience. Although he had sparred with his peers before, it was just sparring. He had never met a lunatic like Ling Xiao. It wasn't the first or second time that Ling Xiao had gone through all sorts of crazy battles. Therefore, his viciousness and strength in battle were definitely not something the White Wolf Masked Man could compare to. Nonsense! Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. He took out the Dong Sheng demonic sword. The Eastern Victory demonic sword and the Eastern Victory heavenly sword were a pair. But because of the terrifying sword soul contained within them, the Eastern Victory demonic sword and the Eastern Victory heavenly sword were a pair. It was extremely powerful. It was impossible for Ling Xiao to use it to perform martial skills because he could not control it. However, if it was just an ordinary attack, there would be no problem. The sharpness of the Dong Sheng demonic sword was even better than an 8th level Emperor martial skill. At this moment, Ling Xiao held the Blood Sovereign sword in his right hand and continued to control the Khanate God-Fiend seal. He held the Dong Sheng demonic sword in his left hand and performed ordinary attacks. Each sword was more ferocious than the last. The opponent in front of him had to be killed. Even if he could not kill him, he had to seriously injure him. Only then could he force the Sea tribe experts to retreat. Otherwise, if he was captured today, he would not be the only one to die. Not only would Yu Fenghua be captured, but the people in the king's residence would also be buried with him. The White Wolf Masked Man is an enemy that I have to defeat. No matter what, I can't show mercy. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with crazy killing intent. The sword light flashed and was extremely fierce. You damn dog! You don't know how to appreciate favors. You force me to use my life-saving Dharma treasure. In that case, I have to kill you today. the White Wolf Masked Man was completely annoyed. As one of the young masters of the deep-sea dragon realm, he was greatly appreciated by the dragon mother of the dragon realm. Although he had come out to train, he was still worried that he would encounter danger, so he gave him a powerful artifact. That treasure was a celestial-grade, heavenly king artifact. There were only a few of them in the entire 4 regions. This item was originally reserved for assassination attempts by the top experts of the 4 major domains. Although that thing was powerful, every time it was used, it would take a long time to recover. But today, in order to save his life, in order to kill his opponent, White Wolf Mask couldn't care less. Soul of the Dragon Mother! Amidst the roar, a dragon's roar rang out. The surrounding water elements transformed into a terrifying water dragon, which actually forced Ling Xiao away. Then, a blue light in the sky fell into the body of the White Wolf Mask. In that instant, the White Wolf Mask seemed to have changed into another person. Not only had he recovered from his previous injuries, but he had also recovered completely. The most terrifying thing was that his temperament was completely different from before. This feeling was somewhat similar to Long Chen's. Could it be that there are still descendants of the dragon clan in the deep-sea dragon realm? Ling Xiao frowned. He knew that Ling Xiao and the others belonged to the last of the dragon clan. Perhaps the so-called dragon mother is just a sea beast with part of the dragon clan's bloodline. This thought flashed through Ling Xiao's mind in an instant. Ling Xiao, bear my wrath. This is my most powerful attack. Soul of the Dragon Mother, kill! White Wolf Mask was completely bathed in the blue light. His body turned into a blue divine dragon and pounced on Ling Xiao. I didn't expect that kid to force young master to use the soul of the Dragon Mother. Dragon Mask, who was fighting with Yu Fanghua, had a look of shock in his eyes. This battle was really too unexpected. He thought that White Wolf would be the first to end the battle. However, up until now, the White Wolf had not even hurt a single hair on Ling Xiao. Instead, he was forced to use the soul of the Dragon Mother. Don't worry, big brother. Once young master uses the soul of the Dragon Mother, that kid won't be able to live anymore. Tiger Mask said confidently, That's right, big brother. This battle should finally end. It's really troublesome. Lion Mask said, They all knew what the soul of the Dragon Mother meant. It was definitely not something that little brat Ling Xiao could resist. However, in the next moment, they heard White Wolf Mask let out a shrill scream. A horrifying scene appeared in front of them. Ling Xiao's Dongxing demonic sword easily shattered the gloves on White Wolf Mask's hands. Then, with an unstoppable momentum, the sword split White Wolf Mask's body. From head to toe, White Wolf Mask's entire body was directly split into 2 halves. What a foolish person! Is this the most powerful power you have? It's really laughable. Innate fiend god seal, bloodthirsty tyrant forest. Ling Xiao knew that even if White Wolf Mask's body was split open, he would definitely not die. Therefore, his next attack was already coming. The whole world turned into a blood-red forest. Frightening, gigantic beasts emerged from the forest. A heavenly devil had become their leader. They ripped White Wolf Mask apart with their bare hands. Even the heavenly core belonging to the perfect 8th divine core realm was devoured by Ling Xiao. At the last moment, his cultivation level broke through once again. He had reached the early 7th divine core realm. This breakthrough wasn't completely useless. The stronger he was now, the higher his cultivation level would be after the sanguine rat state ended. The 7th divine core realm corresponded to the 7th divine vein realm. It was much higher than the 6th divine vein realm, and it had saved him a lot of trouble. Normally, breaking through like this wasn't a good thing, because it would cause his foundation to be unstable. But right now, Ling Xiao knew his cultivation level would drop. So why would he care about this? White Wolf Mask's heavenly core was completely absorbed into his cultivation ocean. After breaking through to the 7th divine core realm, it didn't stop. It only stopped when he reached the early 8th divine core realm. Although his cultivation level wasn't stable at all, it could collapse at any moment, just like a dangerous house. But right now, Ling Xiao didn't care about it at all. This house was going to be torn down anyway. He had to build a new foundation and rebuild it. If it was a dangerous house, then so be it. No. The divine dragon mask let out a shocking roar. Their young lord had been killed by someone. Just when they were full of confidence, he had been killed by someone. This was something they couldn't accept. Their young lord had been killed, and the three of them had followed him as bodyguards. If they went back, they would be severely punished by Dragon Mother. Of course, being severely punished wasn't a big deal. More importantly, they had lost all their face. They had allowed a nobody to kill their young lord in front of them. No matter what, they would become a laughingstock. Thinking of this, they stared at Ling Xiao crazily. All of this was caused by that guy. They had to capture that guy alive and bring him back. Chapter 3884. Bam! Yu Fanghua would not waste the opportunity created by Ling Xiao. The moment the dragon god's mask showed signs of panic, she seized the opportunity. She slammed her palm on the dragon mask's back. Uft! The dragon mask spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. His strength was on par with Yu Fanghua. Now that he was injured, he was at a complete disadvantage. The same went for the tiger mask and the lion mask. White Snow took the opportunity to injure them. At this moment, the battle came to an end. Let's go! The three of them did not dare to continue fighting. They turned and fled. When they appeared, they were arrogant and looked down on everyone. Ling Xiao was even more of a minor character that was not worth mentioning. However, such a person had actually caused them to suffer such heavy losses. White Wolf, whose real name was Water White Wolf, was one of the personal disciples of the Dragon Mother of the Deep-Sea Dragon Field. In the end, he was buried here. The other three were the Mud Dragon, the Ice Sea Lion, and the Water Tiger King. The three of them were the strongest in the Deep-Sea Dragon Field. However, he couldn't even protect a white water wolf. It was really embarrassing. In the end, they could only flee in a hurry. Otherwise, they might not even be able to save their own lives. When the three people escaped, Yu Fanghua did not chase after them. She was most concerned about Ling Xiao's health. This was because Ling Xiao's current appearance was truly pitiful. Although he killed the water white wolf, he looked as if he was bathed in blood. Not a single part of his skin was unharmed. That was one of the negative effects of the bloody rat. Moon Maiden, I finally see you again. Ling Xiao withdrew the bloody rat. He seemed to have used up all his strength and fell to the ground. He only dared to be so relaxed in front of you, Fanghua. In fact, the bloody rat could continue, but the price was that he would be more seriously injured. The three masters of the deep-sea dragon field had been defeated. With the Moon Maiden here, Ling Xiao did not have to be so persistent. He had looked back so many times just to see this woman. He cultivated with all his might. Although he had many goals, the most important one was to reunite with the Moon Lady. At that moment, his entire body was dripping with blood. Even though his body was extremely powerful, it was still severely damaged. He estimated that it would take at least 1 or 2 months for him to fully recover this time, unless there was some special secret method to treat it. His bones were almost completely shattered, and his internal organs were bleeding. If it was a normal person, they would have stopped breathing long ago. Luckily, he was a divine core warrior. Oh no, he was now an early 8th level divine vein warrior. The drop this time was truly ruthless. However, if he could protect the Moon Lady, it was all worth it. His falling body was caught by the Moon Maiden. His blood dyed the Moon Maiden's clothes red. It was so bright. Yu Fanghua was already in tears. She really didn't know that Ling Xiao would become like this after using that secret technique. If she had known, she would rather die than see Ling Xiao get hurt. Bai Shui quietly looked at the two men. Her eyes were filled with tears and gentleness. She was a demon, And although the demon race had always been cruel and ruthless, there were still true feelings among them. Most women were emotional, and when she saw this touching scene, how could she not cry? Within the purple spirit capital, Zi Qinya and Zi Long were crying their eyes out as well. "You're so stupid. Why did you have to do this?" Yu Fenghua didn't understand. Even if Ling Xiao liked her, he didn't have to do this. "Because I owe you." Ling Xiao smiled. Although Yu Fenghua didn't know about it, it was enough for him to know. If it wasn't for him, the Moon Maiden wouldn't have fallen into the 10 reincarnations. Therefore, no matter what he did, it wouldn't be a problem. Even if he had to sacrifice his life for this woman, it would be worth it. "You don't owe me anything. You really don't owe me anything." The Moon Maiden tightly hugged this man. It was as if all the suffering she had suffered for the past few days had melted away, evaporated, and disappeared. Which man could do this for a woman? He had gone through countless dangers and nearly lost his life many times. And now, with his 6th divine core cultivation base, he had killed a perfect 8th divine core warrior. He had done everything he could. For her, this man had created one miracle after another. Don't cry, Moon Maiden. For you, everything is worth it. Furthermore, I'm still alive, right? Ling Xiao was lying on the Moon Maiden's shoulder, gently wiping away her tears. With a gentle voice, he said, "You're so beautiful. Your eyes are blurred from crying. Don't talk anymore. Have a good rest. I know everything you've done. I know everything." Yu Fenghua covered Ling Xiao's mouth, as if she was worried that Ling Xiao would die from exhaustion if he spoke one more word. Since the day she was born, her life hadn't been good, although she was the high and mighty goddess of the Eternal Palace. But everyone looked at her with hostility or greed. She felt like an object, not a human being. Only when she was with Ling Xiao did she feel like she was being cared for. Today, this man had almost given up his life for her. Her heart was filled with warmth, but also fear. The warmth was because of this love, and the fear was also because of this love. She was really afraid that Ling Xiao would die because of her. To be honest, when she left, she never thought that Ling Xiao would one day step into the territory of the 4 major regions. That was why she worked so hard to find Ling Xiao herself. Until she found out that Ling Xiao had arrived in the 4 major regions and had turned the entire Dongsheng Strong Nation upside down. Only then did she realize that this man was a man of his word, a man of his word. He would never go back on his words. While searching for Ling Xiao, all she heard were stories about Ling Xiao's miracles. There was another main character in these stories, and that was the woman Ling Xiao was searching for, a person called Yu Fenghua. This woman was her. This made her feel extremely proud and honored. In the distance, a sword light was speeding towards here. The Dongxing Emperor was cultivating when he suddenly felt that his disciple Gu Fenghua's divine consciousness had shattered. He was shocked and rushed over. When he arrived, not only was Gu Fenghua dead, but even one of the 4 people from the Deep Sea Dragon region was dead, and the other 3 had escaped. The Dongxing Emperor looked at Yu Fenghua and frowned slightly. "Miss, that person is Ling Xiao, who killed my disciple, right? Hand him over to me, and I can let bygones be bygones." The Dongxing Emperor was very famous in the Dongsheng Strong Nation, and he was the #1 expert. However, in the entire 4 regions and 9 heavens, he was nothing. Yu Fenghua, this kind of high-level person, he really had never seen before. He had only heard of her. However, he could also feel the terrifying threat from Yu Fenghua's body. That was why he was so polite. Otherwise, with his character, he would have killed his way over. Chapter 3885. Get lost. Yu Fenghua didn't say anything, but Bai Shui spoke first. "You old thing, can't you see that a beautiful couple is meeting? You don't have any eyesight at all." To Bai Shui, the Dongxing Emperor was just a small figure. He was far inferior to the people from the Deep Sea Dragon territory. Therefore, she didn't hold back at all. The Dongsheng Emperor frowned. This woman was too rude. He was the emperor of the Dongsheng Strong Country. How dare she speak to him like that? "Miss, I am the emperor of the Dongsheng strong country. The Dongxing emperor said coldly. He hoped to see fear on Bai Shui's face, or at least panic. But there was no response. She only looked at him with disdain. So what if you are the emperor of the Dongsheng strong country? If I ask you to get lost, then get lost quickly. You will lose your life if you are late. Bai Shui looked impatient. This old thing really thought too highly of himself. Hearing this, the Dongxing emperor's face turned even uglier. He was the most powerful person in the Dongsheng strong country. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that. But this unknown girl had no intention of giving him face at all. This caused the rage in his chest to explode. I gave you face and spoke to you nicely, but you don't know how to restrain yourselves. Aren't you afraid that I will kill all of you? The Dongxing emperor said coldly. You can try. Bai Shui said sarcastically. I want to see who will die faster. You are courting death. The Dongxing emperor was really annoyed. He activated his sword intent and stabbed at Bai Shui. Bai Shui just sneered and waved her claws casually. The terrifying claw mark in the void completely shattered the sword intent. It even forced the Dongxing emperor to retreat dozens of steps. What? The Dongxing emperor felt his blood boiling in his body and was extremely uncomfortable. How could this girl be so terrifying? Who are you? The Dongxing emperor frowned and asked. You don't need to know. What you need to do now is to get out of Purple Spirit Country. From today onwards, you are not allowed to set foot in this country. Otherwise, I will make sure you don't see the sun tomorrow. Bai Shui's attitude was really domineering. I don't believe it. The Dongxing emperor was the same as Gu Fenghua. They were both people who did not believe in superstitions. They both felt that they were extremely powerful. No one could do anything to them. But in the next moment, white snow poked 5 holes in his chest. Those terrifying holes were dripping with blood. The Dongxing emperor gritted his teeth in pain. This injury will take at least 1 or 2 years to heal. This is also my final warning to you. If you still don't know what's good for you, then you'll die. Bai Shui's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The Dongxing emperor looked at him in horror and turned to flee. He knew that he had provoked someone he shouldn't have, even though he still didn't know the identities of these 2 people. But this little violet spirit kingdom, for the time being, he didn't dare to return. As the emperor, he had many enemies. If others knew that he was seriously injured, he would probably die an unnatural death. So when he returned this time, he planned to go into seclusion. As for Ling Xiao, we'll talk about it later. Now, he definitely had no way to avenge his 2 disciples. Sister, is it okay for me to do this? White snow stuck out her tongue and asked Yu Fenghua, who was looking at her. If it was me, I would have killed him. Yu Fenghua didn't say anything. Instead, it was Ling Xiao who spoke, but everyone has their own way of doing things, so I won't comment. I'm really tired. I've never felt so tired before. Moon Maiden, can I borrow your leg and sleep for a while? Of course. Right now, Yu Fenghua's heart belonged to Ling Xiao. No matter what Ling Xiao asked for, she would try her best to agree. As for whether the Eternal Palace would come after them, she didn't even consider it. Since she had met him, she might as well seize this moment of warmth and spend some time with Ling Xiao. All right, Moon Maiden, I think your cultivation is at the 9th level of the Divine Core Realm, the Extreme Core Realm? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. He didn't know the Moon Maiden's true strength, but after the fight just now he could roughly guess. Yu Fenghua nodded her head and said, Actually, when I was in the Western region, I wasn't this strong. After I was captured and brought back to the Eternal Palace, in order to meet you as soon as possible, I've been cultivating with all my might. That's why I've achieved what I have today. I thought I was the only one who would risk my life for you, but I didn't expect you to risk your life for me as well. Perhaps I, Ling Xiao, am the happiest man in the world. Ling Xiao smiled, then he turned to White Snow and said, I think she's even stronger than you, right? That's right, don't underestimate White Snow. When she was in the wild beast region, She was a peerless demon king. But too bad. She was harmed by some evil people, and her strength dropped a lot. But now, she's still a half-step divine physique realm warrior. She's much stronger than a martial artist at the extreme core realm. Half-step divine physique realm? Is the divine physique realm above the divine core realm? Ling Xiao asked. That's right. The divine vein, divine core, and divine physique all belong to the same realm. The most important thing is to strengthen your body before your second reincarnation. If not, you won't be able to pass through the gate of reincarnation and will die on the way. The Moon Maiden replied, Kid, you're pretty good. I'm an old monster who has lived for several thousand years. But this is the first time I've seen a man as infatuated and crazy as you. Originally, I had decided to kill you the moment I saw you, so that my sister wouldn't take you seriously. But after meeting you, I changed my mind. Kid, you're pretty good. Not just my sister. Even I would be infatuated with you. White Snow giggled and said, Don't worry, no matter how much your strength dropped, as long as White Snow is here, nothing will happen to you. Thank you, Miss White Snow. Ling Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It looked like he had really escaped a disaster. If White Snow really wanted to kill him, perhaps even Yu Fanghua wouldn't be able to stop her. Yu Fanghua was only at the extreme core realm, but White Snow was at the half-step divine physique realm. She was completely above the extreme core realm. You're welcome. You deserve it. After all, you used your own actions to protect your own life. Even I'm touched. This Demon King, White Snow's carefree manner was quite interesting. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's go to the king's residence first. Ling Xiao was feeling extremely tired now. He felt like the sky was turning dark, and he really wanted to have a good rest. After saying that, he fell asleep. Outside the purple spirit capital, the only thing left was the smell of blood in the air. Those who were killed had all turned into dust, and there was no need to deal with their corpses. The sky gradually darkened, and night was about to arrive. But to Ling Xiao, this wasn't night, but the beginning of a brand new day. Although his cultivation had dropped significantly, he still had some treasures. However, he still had some treasures on him that he hadn't used yet. Recovering his original cultivation was much faster than cultivating. He wasn't worried. Of course, the most important thing was that he could see the woman he loved again. Chapter 3886. While he was asleep, the divine pills in his body were taking effect. They fused with Ling Xiao's limbs and bones, and fused with Ling Xiao's energy. His damaged body was rapidly repaired, tempered, and strengthened. However, the injuries on his body could be healed by the miraculous effects of the two divine pills in his body. However, the pain in his soul couldn't be healed so easily. Moreover, the pain in his soul was even more torturous than the pain in his body. Perhaps an ordinary person would have chosen to commit suicide out of pain long ago. The reason why Ling Xiao didn't do that was because he still had his own obsession, his own dreams. The people he wanted to meet, his lover, his friends, his family, and the great wish he had to fulfill. Although that great wish was like a joke to many people. However, that wasn't the case for Ling Xiao. He believed that he could do it, so he had to live. Therefore, he gritted his teeth, endured so that he wouldn't fall asleep in the endless darkness. Once he fell asleep, he would die a terrifying death. What's the big deal about pain? He had experienced more painful things than this. Once upon a time, the Moon Maiden had died because of him. That pain was much more severe than this. At that time, he still persevered. Now, what couldn't he persevere? As his body gradually recovered, the pain in his soul became even more obvious. His soul felt like it was walking in the darkness, filled with thorns. That kind of feeling was really unpleasant. Suddenly, a bright moon hung in the sky in the darkness. This bright moon illuminated the darkness. It expelled the pain. It was like the best healing medicine for the soul. It actually made him gradually feel comfortable. The injuries in his soul began to recover. What was going on? Ling Xiao was still unconscious, so he didn't know what this was. However, he could clearly sense a familiar aura in the moonlight. Is it her? Is she helping me? This aura belonged to the Moon Maiden. It was an aura that made people feel extremely comfortable. Although he didn't know what the Moon Maiden had done, it was his woman's good intentions. How could he let this energy go to waste? His soul was wrapped in the moonlight and constantly recovered. The pain had almost completely disappeared. Ling Xiao forced his soul to wake up. This was because he didn't know what the Moon Lady was doing. If the Moon Maiden sacrificed herself to help him, it would be the biggest failure of his life. It would make him feel guilty for the rest of his life. Therefore, as soon as his soul showed some signs of improvement, he forced himself to wake up. In front of him was Yu Fanghua, who was sitting cross-legged. Yu Fanghua's soul force passed through the void and into his soul realm. The girl's face was deathly pale. There was a price to pay for the healing of the soul. The pain that Ling Xiao didn't have to bear, Yu Fanghua had to bear it for him. Seeing this, Ling Xiao forcibly cut off the soul transfer. He pulled Yu Fanghua into his arms. Looking at the trembling girl, he blamed himself. If you do this, although you can heal me, you will hurt your own soul. Fortunately, I discovered it in time. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to recover for the rest of your life. Ling Xiao sighed. He wanted to scold the girl, but he found that he couldn't say anything. The girl was risking her life for him. How could he bear to do that? I don't care. As long as you can recover, even if I die, what's the big deal? I've already obtained your love. I've received your most sincere love. I have no regrets. Yu Fanghua smiled. Nonsense. If you die, I'll be the first to die with you. So remember, you can't die. Ling Xiao's tone became firm. Also, don't worry. I'm an apothecary. Healing the soul isn't a problem for me. You've already woken me up. Let's stop here. Eat this. This is the soul-stabilizing pill that I concocted in the past. It can prevent your soul from weakening. Regardless of whether Yu Fanghua was willing or not, Ling Xiao stuffed the soul-stabilizing pill into Yu Fanghua's mouth. As soon as the pill entered her mouth, it melted and instantly integrated into Yu Fanghua's soul realm. It turned into a trickle and healed Yu Fanghua's soul. Ling Xiao also ate a soul-stabilizing pill. Although this thing couldn't heal his soul completely, it could temporarily prevent him from suffering. Anyway, as long as he woke up, there were many ways to heal his soul. After all, his soul was much stronger than Yu Fanghua's. Fanghua, in this life I won't let you down. Even if the world collapses, you'll always be number one in my heart. Ling Xiao had always liked to call Yu Fanghua the Moon Lady. That was because he felt that he liked the Moon Lady and not the Yu Fanghua of this life. However, from this moment onwards, he changed his mind. What Yu Fanghua did for him wasn't any worse than what the Moon Lady did for him. Moreover, Yu Fanghua was the Moon Lady. Why did he have to make such a clear distinction? All he needed to know was that he loved this woman deeply. That was enough. He would never allow anyone to take this woman away from him. That's so mushy. Bai Shui shook her head and walked out of the room. Yu Fanghua smiled sweetly and said, I know how you feel. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. In this life, I will only love you, no matter what difficulties we have to face. No matter how others threaten me, I won't care. The two of them held each other's hands tightly, transmitting the love of life and death between them. After a long time, there was a knock on the door. Ling Xiao, can I come in? It was Zi Qinya's voice. Ling Xiao smiled and let Zi Qinya in. Zi Qinya wasn't the only one who came in. Zi Long was also there. You're finally awake, Brother Ling Xiao. You almost scared me to death. If you didn't wake up, I would have gone crazy. Zi Long was the first to rush over. Fortunately, Ling Xiao's body had already recovered. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Ahem, Xiaolong. Don't you see that our benefactor is still here? Zi Qinya coughed and said. Zi Long hurriedly cupped his fist and thanked Yu Fanghua. You don't have to thank her. She is my woman. I can thank her alone. Ling Xiao smiled and said, Since the two of you are here, I have something to ask of you. What's the matter? Just say it. Our lives are yours. Whatever you want us to do, we won't refuse. Zi Qianya said. First, I want to apologize to both of you, because I lied to you about some things. In fact, I came from the Western Domain. I am the Celestial Emperor of the Western Domain. Ling Xiao decided to be frank with Zi Qianya and Zi Long. He needed these two to help him establish the foundation of the Celestial Empire in the 4 domains. So that's how it is. No wonder I always felt that Brother Ling Xiao was so mysterious. I didn't expect you to come from the Western Domain. Then you are even more powerful. A Western region martial artist can actually enter the 4 major regions and even become so strong. Zilong sighed. Chapter 3887. There's no need to apologize. Our lives are yours. Just tell us what you want us to do. Zi Qian Yi said seriously. All right, I'll explain my thoughts to you in detail. Next, Ling Xiao told Zi Qianyi and Zi Long about his plans and considerations. A grand blueprint had been woven by him. After listening to him, Zi Qianyi was still in a daze. Can it really succeed? You want to unify the mystic world. Zi Qianyi was really shocked. I believe that Brother Ling Xiao will succeed. He is that kind of powerful person. Zi Long said excitedly, Whether it succeeds or not depends on the future. But now, Sister Qianyi, are you willing to become the ruler of the Heavenly Empire in the 4 regions? Ling Xiao asked. Of course I am. I will do as you said and bring the talented cultivators of the Western regions to the small purple spirit kingdom to cultivate. But will the Dongxing Emperor come to make trouble? Zi Qianyi asked. Not for a while. His injury will take at least a year or 2 to recover. And after a year or 2, I can guarantee that I will be stronger than him. At that time, not only the small purple spirit kingdom, but even the Purple Mansion Kingdom and the Dongxing Kingdom will be mine. Ling Xiao said confidently, By the way, you know Half Demon City, right? I have people there. You can contact them with my token. If you need help, just say the word. Well, in that case, I will take this heavy responsibility. Zi Qianyi nodded. She thought that the only meaning of her life was to protect her brother. However, Ling Xiao gave her a new meaning, which made her more confident and motivated. But where do you plan to go next? If you offend the Dongxing Emperor, I'm afraid you can't go to the Dongxing Kingdom. Zi Qianyi frowned. To the Southern Sky Kingdom. Yu Fenghua suddenly said. Why? Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He was also a little confused about the future. But since Yu Fenghua mentioned the Southern Sky Kingdom, there must be a reason. Among the 4 great kingdoms, the Western Kingdom is the most powerful, and it was also very special. The other 3 superpowers did their own thing, but they belonged to the Golden Heavenly Nation. However, this Western Kingdom's powerful country was directly under the jurisdiction of the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. To put it simply, the other 3 strong nations were like small sects affiliated to a powerful sect. And this Western Sky Kingdom was more like the outer sect of this powerful sect. They belonged to the same lineage. Yu Fenghua explained. So it's like this, no wonder you suggested that I go to the Western Kingdom. Apart from being directly under the jurisdiction of the Golden Heavenly Nation, what other characteristics does this country have? Ling Xiao had to get to the bottom of this. In the Western Kingdom, the concentration of spiritual energy is about 10 times that of the other 3 great powers. The number of experts they had was also 10 times that of the other 3 superpowers. And most importantly, as the periphery of the Golden Heavenly Country, the most outstanding disciples of the Western Kingdom could directly enter the Golden Heavenly Country to cultivate. It was the same principle as the outer sect disciples entering the inner sect. If you go there, your path to promotion will be much easier. It's much better than staying in the Dongxing strong nation. Yu Fenghua explained. Hearing this, Ling Xiao roughly understood the path that Yu Fenghua had arranged for him. He would first go to the Western Kingdom and find a way to become the most outstanding disciple. After that, he would step into the Golden Heavenly Country and become the most outstanding warrior in the Golden Heavenly Country. Although the Golden Heavenly Country's overall strength was slightly weaker than the Eternal Palace, they were still on the same level. As long as Ling Xiao could become the most outstanding warrior in the Golden Heavenly Country, he would be able to marry Yu Fenghua openly. He knew very well that the reason why Yu Fenghua stayed by his side was because she was worried about him. Soon Yu Fenghua would leave, or else, when the people from the Eternal Palace came after them, they would all be in danger. All of this was because of his strength. Even if his strength didn't regress, it was still not enough. At the very least, his cultivation had to be steady, and he had to break through to the peak 8th divine core realm step by step. Only the peak heavenly core realm could achieve that. With this thought in mind, he looked at Yu Fenghua affectionately and said, Fenghua, I won't disappoint you. I will become the strongest warrior in the Golden Heavenly Country, the man who is most qualified to marry you. Even the Eternal Emperor won't be able to stop us. Being weak didn't make Ling Xiao feel dispirited. On the contrary, it made his blood boil even more. Because he knew his own path, he knew his goal. Yu Fenghua sighed and said, To be honest, I really want to stay with you forever, but too bad I can't. Although Bai Shui and I are very strong, when compared to the entire Eternal Emperor domain, we are nothing. The people from the Eternal Palace have already found out that I've escaped, and they will be here soon. I can't drag you into this. It's not your fault, I'm useless. Ling Xiao shook his head. He loved a woman, but he couldn't protect her. This was the biggest sorrow for a man. Therefore, he had to work harder. The separation now was only temporary. When he was in the Western region, his strength was much weaker than now, but he still managed to survive. To him, it didn't take long for him to recover his strength from the peak of the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. His cultivation speed was already very fast. Now that he had recovered his strength, his cultivation speed was even faster. Because he had experienced the same thing before, he didn't feel dispirited at all. Fenghua, just wait for me in the Eternal Palace. Today they look down on me. One day I will make them look up to me. The existence of the Eternal Palace is also a kind of motivation for me. It's good that you can understand this. I was worried that you wouldn't understand. Yu Fenghua let out a sigh of relief. The man she liked was indeed not an ordinary man. He wasn't the kind of man who couldn't understand what was important. If Ling Xiao insisted on her staying, then she would agree. But if she did that, she would face the wrath of the Eternal Palace sooner or later. Humiliation was considered light. If things went wrong, he might even lose his life. That was something Yu Fenghua didn't want to see. And now, Ling Xiao seemed to have considered this point. He wasn't begging for her protection. Instead, he was working hard to become stronger. No matter what, such a man was worthy of respect. By the way, Fenghua, I heard that you were betrothed to a man called Wang Quantianming. Is he very strong? Ling Xiao had to understand how terrifying his opponent was. Yu Fenghua froze for a moment. Originally, she did not intend to say this. Because the opponent was too strong, Ling Xiao might break down. But this time, after seeing Ling Xiao kill the White Wolf mask, she decided to believe in Ling Xiao. She believed in her man. To be honest, Wang Quan Tianming's strength is weaker than me in the younger generation of the Eternal Palace. He's only weaker than me. And this weakness isn't in terms of cultivation. His cultivation is even higher than mine. He's on the same level as Bai Shui, half-step divine body realm. I was born with a special martial soul, so I have an innate advantage. Chapter 3888. Yu Fenghua continued. This Wang Quan Tianming also has a special martial soul. Just like you, he is a beast god. Furthermore, his beast god realm is a supreme divine realm. Apart from me, no one in the younger generation of the Eternal Palace is his match. A supreme divine realm. Ling Xiao had heard about this Wang Quan Tianming before. Most of them said that Wang Quan Tianming's beast god realm was a high-grade divine realm. Unexpectedly, it was even higher than that. It looked like this guy wasn't going to be easy to deal with. A beast god with a half-step divine physique realm cultivation base. He was definitely a terrifying mountain in front of Ling Xiao. But so what? Ling Xiao couldn't help but sneer in his mind. Above the supreme divine realm was the Lord Divine Realm, and above the Lord Divine Realm was the primordial divine realm. The beast god realm he possessed was something that Wang Quan Tianming couldn't compare with. What he needed to do now was increase his cultivation base. He believed that his cultivation speed would be much faster than Wang Quan Tianming's. In fact, Wang Quan Tianming's strength was within his expectations, so he wasn't surprised. If Wang Quan Tianming wasn't so strong, the eternal emperor of the Eternal Palace wouldn't have betrothed his most outstanding daughter to Wang Quan Tianming. Oh, right. There's something else I need to tell you. Yu Fenghua suddenly said. Do you still remember Wang Quan Tianming's brother, Wang Quan Tianming? He went to the western region with Wang Quan Zhen. In the end, his body was destroyed by someone, but his inner core wasn't damaged. Now he has recovered, but he's been clamoring to get even with you. What's going on? When Yu Fenghua was unconscious, she didn't know that Wang Quan Tianming was killed by the black demon in Ling Xiao's body. At that time, Ling Xiao didn't know anything about the divine core realm. He only knew that he destroyed Wang Quan Tianming's body. He thought Wang Quan Tianming was dead, but now it seemed like Wang Quan Tianming was still alive. There are some reasons. But how strong is Wang Quan Tianming? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. If he could kill Wang Quan Tianming once, he could do it again. Last time, he relied on the black demon's strength. This time, he would rely on his own strength. Kingship of the world's talent is also very strong. His strength is basically the same as that water white wolf. Yu Fenghua replied, He's really strong. Looks like I have to hurry up. Ling Xiao did not want to delay for even a moment. He could not wait to go to the Western Kingdom's strong country. Ling Xiao, it won't be easy for you to become one of the best in the Golden Sky region. The Western Kingdom alone has a population of billions. Among them, there were also countless experts. I hope you won't be too anxious. You know my strength. It won't be easy for them to put me under house arrest. During this period of time, I will travel through the 4 major regions and draw away the Eternal Palace's attention. You just need to focus on your cultivation. Whether it's 1 year, 3 years, or even 100 years, I can wait. Yu Fenghua said seriously. She was afraid that Ling Xiao would be too anxious and walk down the wrong path. If that happened, it would be troublesome. Don't worry, I understand. Ling Xiao nodded. Yu Fenghua and Bai Shui were both super experts. It would not be easy for the experts of the 4 major regions to deal with them. Even if they could not win, they could easily escape. But even so, Ling Xiao would not be free because of this. After all, his goal was not only to marry Yu Fenghua. He had a bigger and more magnificent blueprint. He wanted to control the entire 4 major regions in his hands. Fenghua, I won't let you wait too long. Of course, I won't be anxious because of this. After so many days, don't you believe me? Ling Xiao said with a smile. Of course I believe you. Yu Fenghua nodded heavily. Then Ling Xiao looked at Zi Qinya and said, I'll leave the small purple spirit country to you. The martial artists of our Heavenly Dynasty Empire are also entrusted to you. The Heavenly Devil Ruin is very safe. Before I leave, I'll seal all the entrances. Only the small purple spirit country is left. Once you encounter any danger, just hide inside. During this period of time, keep a low profile and steadily increase your strength. The day I return will be the day the Eastern Victory Kingdom will be mine. At that time, you won't have to be sneaky anymore. Hearing what Ling Xiao said, Zi Qinya and Zi Long understood that Ling Xiao was leaving. Although they were reluctant to leave, they also understood that this small purple spirit country could no longer help Ling Xiao improve his strength. A dragon diving into the ocean. Only the Western Victory Kingdom's ocean could allow this dragon to continue his evolution. Ling Xiao's current cultivation was only at the peak 8th level divine vein realm. However, one must understand that his physical strength had already reached the 7th order emperor realm. This meant that any martial artists below the 7th level divine core realm would be able to cause him very little harm. Also, there was the hero army in the Dongsheng Emperor Ring. If he wanted to survive in the Western Victory Kingdom, it would be very easy. Before leaving, as promised, Ling Xiao sealed all the entrances to the Heavenly Devil Ruin. The seals wouldn't weaken for at least a few hundred years. Furthermore, even a divine physique warrior wouldn't be able to destroy it if they didn't know how to set up a formation. The Heavenly Devil Ruin had become the safest place. Only then did Jiang Qin feel relieved and set off with Yufanghua and Bai Shui. The first step was to head to the Eastern Victory Kingdom. Not to massacre the city, but to use the teleportation formation to travel to the Western Victory Kingdom. With Yu Fanghua around, when they used the transmission array, no one actually came to stop them. Perhaps the Eastern Victory Emperor had already given the order. Yu Fanghua and the others didn't cause any trouble. They just used the teleportation formation. Yu Fanghua knew very well that as one of the 4 strongest kingdoms in the Golden Heavenly region, the Eastern Victory Kingdom wasn't weak. If they really had to fight to the death, they might not be able to get the upper hand. Furthermore, if they attacked the Eastern Victory Kingdom, the Golden Heavenly Kingdom wouldn't just sit back and watch. That would also be very unfavorable to Ling Xiao's future development. The Eastern Victory Kingdom's teleportation formation sent the 3 of them directly to the imperial city of the Western Victory Kingdom. The imperial city of the Western Victory Kingdom isn't just a single city. It's a combination of 108 cities. Any one of the cities had tens of millions of martial artists, and all of them are extremely powerful. Your current cultivation is only at the peak of the 8th level of the Divine Pulse realm. It's better to keep a low profile. Standing in the imperial city of the Western Victory Kingdom, Jiang Qin felt the terrifying aura and abundant spiritual energy around him. Ling Xiao seemed to be somewhat fascinated. Yu Fanghua was afraid that he would be impulsive and couldn't help but remind him, "Don't worry, I won't be so impulsive." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "But if someone provokes me, I won't be polite. For example, that Wang Quan Tianming. Wang Quan Tianming is very vengeful. This person is a genius. From the moment he was born, he was a genius in the limelight, so he is very arrogant. His younger brother was injured, and he will always remember it in his heart. If you appear, he will be the first to kill you." Yu Fanghua reminded, "The Wang Quan clan is a famous clan in the Eternal Palace. Even if he kills people indiscriminately, no one will dare to say anything." Chapter 3889. Wang Quan Tianming's strength didn't exceed my expectations. Actually, I'm more interested in this Eternal Emperor. How strong is he? Ling Xiao asked with a puzzled expression. "You're talking about Father? Who knows? Father hasn't shown himself for a long time. I can't tell how strong he is either. The ones in charge of delivering Father's orders are usually the First Queen and the 4 emperors. Wang Quan, Tianming's grandfather, is one of the 4 emperors of the Eternal Palace. As for the Eternal Emperor-Empress, she's my father's woman, but not my birth mother." Speaking up to here, Yu Fanghua couldn't help but feel sad. "My mother passed away when I was 7 years old, but as for how my mother died, I just couldn't remember. I only remember that I was at the scene when she died." "How strong are the First Queen and the 4 emperors?" Ling Xiao asked curiously. If he wanted to go to the Eternal Emperor domain in the future, he had to find out how strong these people were. Or else, if he went there recklessly, he might just lose his life for nothing. Furthermore, the Eternal Emperor wasn't someone who would show his face. If he wanted to get Yu Fanghua, he would have to at least be qualified to talk to the First Queen and the 4 emperors. Yu Fanghua shook her head and said, "I don't know about that. In fact, they have never done anything. Basically, no matter what happens in the Eternal Emperor domain, their subordinates can handle it. They don't need to do anything. But I'm guessing that the first queen and the 4 emperors are divine physique realm warriors. And my father, the eternal emperor, is much stronger than them. Otherwise, it would be impossible to intimidate those 5 people. I see. Ling Xiao nodded his head and said, Don't worry, it's enough to know that they are divine physique realm warriors. I'll do my best to reach this realm. For others, breaking through from the 8th level divine vein realm to the 9th level divine core realm in a few dozen years was an extremely difficult task. But for him, it wasn't a problem at all. Oh, right, Fanghua. I can sense that you don't have a core in your body. What's going on? Since they were going to separate, he still wanted to know what happened to you, Fanghua. Actually, it's nothing much. They put me under house arrest and were afraid that I would leave. Therefore, he sealed my night in. But it doesn't matter. Through the heavenly mirror, I can still use the power of the Naiden. They wouldn't dare to destroy my Naiden. After all, they can't afford to provoke my father. Yu Fanghua said casually. However, Ling Xiao was very clear that losing one's Dantian was a very troublesome matter. Zi Qinya was only an early 6th divine core warrior, and it was extremely difficult for him to fuse with someone else's inner core. Besides, Yu Fanghua was a peak 9th divine core warrior. With Ling Xiao's current strength, it was simply impossible for him to do so. Forget it. If there's any danger, you must contact me. Even if my strength is insufficient, I will think of a way to help you. After all, other than being a martial artist, I'm also an apothecary and an array master. Ling Xiao did not delve into the matter of the inner core. Even if he knew now, there was nothing he could do to help. Since Yu Fanghua was not in any danger right now, he didn't need to ask too much. On the day they parted ways, they spent 3 days and 3 nights in a city even stronger than the imperial city in the southern sky. Both of them were venting their love for each other, satisfying each other, and making each other remember them. But what neither of them noticed was that after the lovemaking session, both of their bodies had undergone some slight changes. Yu Fanghua's cultivation that had been unable to break through for a long time finally showed signs of breaking through. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation hadn't broken through, he could clearly feel that the true Yuan in his body had once again undergone a transformation. It didn't become stronger, but it had developed a new characteristic. Under the sunlight of the sun and moon, he was able to continuously increase his cultivation, temper his body, and strengthen it, although the speed wasn't too fast. But when combined with Ling Xiao's own cultivation, it became even more abnormal. His future cultivation speed would be at least twice as fast as before. His cultivation speed was already freakish enough to begin with. Even he hadn't expected it to increase by 2 times. After watching Yu Fanghua leave, Ling Xiao began to think about the path he would take next. Now that the 2 of you are done being affectionate, isn't it time to talk to Master? The sudden voice of the Yuan Venerate startled Ling Xiao. His old face reddened as he said, Master, before you speak, can you give me a reminder? Master has already called you many times. You were in a daze and didn't know what you were thinking. Now you're blaming Master? The Yuan Venerate snapped. All right. Don't be angry, Master. Tell me, what did you call me for? I know that Master can't just show up casually. Ling Xiao asked. Didn't you ask Master to help you decipher that immemorial martial technique? It has already been successfully deciphered. Do you want to know? The Yuan Venerate said with a smile. The immemorial martial technique of the ancient Dongxing Emperor. Great, tell me quickly. Ling Xiao said excitedly. The reason no one knew the true nature of this immemorial martial technique was because even the ancient Dongxing Emperor hadn't been able to successfully cultivate it. This thing had been restricted when the ancient Dongxing Emperor had discovered it. The ancient Dongxing Emperor wasn't an array formation expert. He hadn't been able to decipher it, so he had left it behind. If this thing had fallen into the hands of others, it would have been useless. However, it would have been different if it had fallen into Ling Xiao's hands. There were Yuan Venerates, array formation masters, and alchemy masters from the Immortal Court. Although it had taken a long time to decipher this restriction, it had been successfully deciphered in the end. Ling Xiao hid the room in the inn he was staying in. Then he took out the immemorial martial technique. After the restriction was removed, the immemorial martial technique was a glowing jade tablet. Above the sparkling and translucent light, there was a fascinating energy. "What do I have to do?" Ling Xiao asked. "Place your hand on this jade tablet and use your soul spirit to comprehend it." Generally, martial techniques of this level don't have any specific moves. They only have intent. Once you comprehend it, it will become your own martial technique. The Yuan Venerate explained. Ling Xiao nodded and took the jade tablet in his hand. At that moment, Ling Xiao was so frightened that he almost threw the jade tablet in his hand away. This was because he had seen a magical scene. 12 different demonic beasts suddenly appeared. They were ferocious and powerful. Every demonic beast let out a shuddering cry. Not to mention him, anyone else would have been shocked. Are these the 12 demonic beasts corresponding to the 12 primordial god positions? Ling Xiao frowned and thought to himself, "Disciple, don't be afraid. You have 12 primordial god positions." This immemorial martial technique was derived from the 12 primordial god positions. Although these 12 demonic beasts could only be considered high-level primordial god positions. However, the power of this immemorial martial technique has probably reached the standard of a high-level level 9 emperor level. If you cultivate it, it will be even more powerful and effective. Chapter 3890. Actually, Ling Xiao wasn't afraid. He had seen a lot of things in his life, and he was just a little surprised at first. After that, he closed his eyes and allowed his soul to enter the jade plate. He used his heart to comprehend this strange, immemorial martial skill. Right at this moment, 12 different energies flew out from the jade plate and merged with his body. It had actually fused with his beast soul. The jade tablet disappeared as well. Right at this moment, Ling Xiao was overjoyed. No wonder the ancient Emperor Dongsheng and Blood Sword Reverend couldn't comprehend this immemorial martial skill. It looked like this martial skill was made for beast god cultivators. The blood demon's seal couldn't be compared to this. Even the innate fiend god seal and the 9 heaven slaughter couldn't be compared to this. Sure enough, they weren't on the same level. Initially, Jiang Chen thought this immemorial martial skill was at most a 7th order Emperor realm martial skill, which was on par with the 9 heaven slaughter. But now, it looked like he had really underestimated it. What a monster! This immemorial martial skill requires a powerful beast god martial soul to activate. The 12 beast god martial souls were all at the same level as the Bloodfang heaven-splitting rat. The Bloodfang heaven-splitting rat was a beast god martial soul of a higher level than any of the beast god martial souls in Ling Xiao's body. But there were 12 of them sealed within the jade plate. This immemorial martial skill didn't look like a simple martial skill. It could merge with the 12 primeval divine positions in Ling Xiao's body, forming a powerful martial soul combat skill. In other words, after cultivating this immemorial martial skill, perhaps there would be a third, unique combat skill among the 12 beast souls in his body. Furthermore, it was a 9th order Emperor realm martial skill. So domineering. In just an instant, as the beast god martial souls merged with the jade plate, all 12 of Ling Xiao's beast souls were upgraded. Ling Xiao's cultivation naturally recovered to the early stage of the 9th level of the divine vein realm. I wonder what kind of terrifying existence created this martial skill. It can actually merge the souls of 12 terrifying demon beasts above the 9th order divine core realm with it. This is really too powerful. Ling Xiao believed that someone like this must be at least at the divine physique realm. His luck was really not bad. The 12 divine beast technique was the true name of this martial skill. An ordinary beast god martial artist could only master one of the beast god martial skills. As for Ling Xiao, because he already had the divine position of the 12 divine beasts, He possessed 12 complete sets of divine beast martial skills. It would not be a waste if it fell into his hands. However, he was a little puzzled. Although the Yuan Venerate had said that this was a high-level Level 9 Emperor-class martial technique, it was still a Level 9 martial technique. However, Ling Xiao felt that this was even more terrifying. He hadn't seen the miraculous power of a 9th level Emperor martial skill, but he believed that his intuition wouldn't be wrong. A martial technique created by a divine physique echelon expert shouldn't just be a high-grade 9th level Emperor-level martial technique. However, the troublesome thing was that with his current cultivation, he was unable to practice such a mystical martial skill. Another problem was that the higher the level of the martial skill, the higher the requirement for cultivation. He had encountered the same situation when he cultivated the falling plum-clear shadow steps and the innate celestial demon seal. He carefully read the information in the 12 divine beasts technique. Sure enough, he found the requirement. Cultivating the 12 divine beasts technique actually required the blood of a high-grade beast god as a material. Furthermore, the cultivation of every beast god required the corresponding blood of a beast god. This was a little troublesome. Where could he find it? Don't worry. The blood of a beast god isn't as hard to find as you think. As long as you can find a beast god martial artist, you can obtain the blood of a beast god. Although beast god martial artists with the supreme divine position and above are rare, high-grade beast god martial artists can still be found. Furthermore, you don't have to kill them. You just need some blood. The Yuan Venerate reminded him. This isn't easy. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. Indeed, the more mystical a martial skill was, the more troublesome it was to cultivate it. If you find this troublesome, why don't you go to the ancient ruins of the secret realms to search for the amber, fossils, or even corpses of the ancient beast gods? You can also extract petrified blood from them. Others can't use it, but I will teach you a refining method that can turn it back into blood. The Yuan Venerate chuckled. Actually, you shouldn't be worried about this. You should be more concerned about not exposing this thing easily. You have to know that even a beginner level 9 Emperor-class martial skill can lead to a fatal disaster if others find out about it. Master, I'm not a 3-year-old kid, nor am I a small fry who is roaming the pugilistic world for the first time. I can be considered a hero, so you don't have to remind me about this. I understand. Ling Xiao sometimes felt that the Yuan Venerate was still treating him like a child. You will always be a child in my eyes. All right, you can think about it on your own. I will go back and rest first. I have consumed a lot of energy helping you break this thing during this period of time. After saying that, the Yuan Venerate disappeared again. Thank you, Master. I, Ling Xiao, will never forget your great kindness. Although Yuan Venerates didn't appear often, they were always of great help to him. Although he didn't say it out loud, he remembered it very clearly. If he hadn't been a Yuan Venerate, he wouldn't have been able to break the seal on the 12 divine beast technique, given his strength. Now that he had this thing, he could slowly study it. In the future, he wouldn't have to worry about martial skills. If he added a growth-type auxiliary martial skill, like the plum blossom acupuncture hand, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. He suppressed the excitement in his heart for the time being. Ling Xiao looked outside the inn again. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. It was said that the Western Sky Imperial Court only recruited divine core warriors. If he wanted to go, he would have to raise his cultivation to the divine core realm first. He had already recovered to the early 9th level divine vein realm. It shouldn't take too much time. Moreover, in order to cultivate the 12 divine beast technique in the future, the beast god's blood was also necessary. Suddenly, a familiar aura came from outside the inn. Ling Xiao was stunned. He was too familiar with this aura. Wasn't it Dark Frost? But shouldn't Dark Frost be cultivating in the Meng village now? How could she appear in the imperial city of the Western Sky Empire? Strange. Ling Xiao frowned, removed the protection, and walked out of the inn. At this moment, he saw a large carriage passing by the roadside. The carriages were filled with young women. Both of their hands were shackled, and it seemed like they were captured from somewhere. Among these girls, there was a familiar face. It was Darkfrost. Damn it! What happened? Ming Shuang's cultivation has increased by quite a bit. But how did she become a prisoner? Ling Xiao could tell with his Tai Chi eye that Darkfrost's cultivation had reached the 4th level Divine Core Realm. This was an amazing breakthrough. But the problem was, how could someone with such formidable strength be captured alive? Looking at the guards, the strongest among them was only at the 1st level Divine Core Realm. Since he couldn't figure it out, he stopped thinking about it. Since he saw Darkfrost, he had to save her. Chapter 3891. The carriage headed out of the city. Ling Xiao decided not to take action in the city. After all, this was one of the 108 cities in the imperial city of the Western Kingdom. Once a fight broke out, they would be caught in no time. Since the carriage was heading out of the city, it would be more appropriate to take action outside the city. He followed the carriage all the way out of the city. After leaving the city, the carriage headed in a certain direction. Looking at it from afar, it was a land covered with snowy mountains. Where was the carriage taking these girls? Ling Xiao was puzzled, but he still followed the carriage. When they arrived at a desolate place, the environment suddenly changed. What was originally a summertime situation changed into a cold winter in an instant. The ground was covered with a thick layer of snow. Even Jiang Qin could feel the coldness. His body was a 7th order emperor, yet he could still feel the coldness. Since he could feel the cold, perhaps even a divine core warrior would have a hard time surviving in this place. Achoo! What is this place? It's so cold. In the carriage, a girl sneezed and shivered all over. Everyone's faces were flushed red. It wasn't because they were shy, but because they were freezing. Ling Xiao noticed that none of these girls had a high cultivation base. Darkfrost was an exception, but it seemed like Darkfrost's cultivation base was sealed by someone with a talisman. She couldn't use it, and she was shivering because of the cold. Actually, not only these girls. Even the first divine core warrior who was escorting the carriage had put a warming talisman on himself. If he didn't have the warming talisman, he might not be able to withstand the cold. Where are you taking us? One of the girls in the carriage couldn't help but ask. Don't be afraid, you're lucky. The place we're taking you to is a good place. It's called the Shueyu Kingdom, and it's the closest place to the imperial city of the Western Kingdom. It's also the strongest kingdom in the Western Kingdom. When you go there, you'll be working as servants. But if you're lucky, you might be chosen by some mighty warrior and become their disciple, or a woman. From then on, you'll have a meteoric rise. Therefore, you shouldn't hate us, you should be thanking us. The driver replied with a smile on his face. Shueyu Kingdom? Hearing this, Ling Xiao immediately thought of several names. Shueyu Country, Bailong Country, Fengho Country. This should be one of the more powerful countries in the Western Kingdom. Amongst them, Shueyu was the strongest and the most mysterious. It was said that the great country of Shueyu had trained many people to go to the 108 cities of the Western Sky Empire. In that case, Shueyu was a perfect place to start. Boom! Just as he was thinking, a loud sound suddenly came from the front. A figure shot out from the snow and landed in front of the carriage. There were a total of 4 people escorting the carriage. All of them were first divine core warriors. However, 3 of them were at the late first heavenly divine core realm, and 1 was at the perfect first heavenly divine core realm. The 4 of them noticed the abnormality and immediately became vigilant. They were all staring at the figure not far away. They didn't believe that this guy who suddenly appeared was here to give them gifts. This guy feels so strong. Ling Xiao also looked in that direction. It was a young man. She was not much older than him. He looked to be in his early 20s. He had a simple and honest look on his face. Frankly speaking, he looked a bit rustic. It was as if he had been cultivating somewhere for a long time and had only recently come out into the world. The young man's cultivation was at the early fourth divine core realm. His strength was extremely frightening. After all, not everyone was a genius like Gu Fenghua and Qing Ma Xue. They didn't have the resources they did. Kid, what are you trying to do? The escort asked coldly. It's simple, let these poor girls go. They obviously don't want to. You shouldn't force them to go to the great country of Shuiyu. The young man said, Ha 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 ha, so you're an idiot. Get lost, or else we'll tie you up as well. Although the great country of Shuiyu doesn't need many male slaves, and they aren't worth much. You can still earn some pocket money, though. The escort laughed out wildly. Obviously, they didn't realize how frightening this young man's strength was. I'm very strong, the young man said. This guy was indeed a simple and honest young man. Even his words were so straightforward. Go. The person escorting the female slave was a little impatient, and the leader waved his hand at his subordinates. The other 3 men leapt towards the young man. Here's my chance. Ling Xiao didn't care where this young man came from. What he wanted to do was to save Dark Frost. He instantly transformed into his shadow warrior form. Ling Xiao arrived behind the leader and thrust his sword into his throat. Then he smashed his inner core with his palm. The inner core of a peak first divine core warrior was actually very fragile. How terrifying was Ling Xiao's fleshy body. This palm landing, the power was frighteningly great. Of course, when he attacked, he had exposed himself. But that didn't matter anymore. Big bro Ling Xiao. When Dark Frost saw Ling Xiao, she was so happy that she almost cried. They had discovered a strange, secret realm near the Meng family's village. That was why she had ventured into the secret realm alone. While she was confused, she had encountered a series of good things, and her cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. But in the end, she fainted while cultivating. When she woke up, she was already in this situation. She couldn't use her true yuan. Even though she was stronger than these escorts, there was no way she could get out of this predicament. Ling Xiao waved the blood sovereign sword in his hand and slashed out. It turned into a few sword beams. The shackles on all the girls' hands were broken. He was not a saint, and he wasn't a saint either. But why wouldn't he do something that was convenient for him? At the same time, the young man had defeated the remaining 3 escorts. But this young man was a simple man, and he didn't use too much strength. Therefore, although the 3 men were defeated, they didn't die. When they realized the situation was bad, they turned around and fled. But how could Ling Xiao let them run away? He took out the profound theory bow and shot out 3 arrows, nailing the 3 men to the tree. The 3 arrows hit the 3 men's inner cores. You just need to save them. Why did you have to kill them? The young man was confused. Brother, are you a newcomer? If they leave, what do you think will happen? These people are obviously just running errands. Their background can't be weak. Ling Xiao was too lazy to explain too much and said casually. He didn't expect the young man to understand, but that guy's reaction surprised him. I understand. This is what Master said. We can't let the tiger return to the mountain. The young man nodded and said, The martial world is indeed a big lesson. I couldn't understand Master's words in the past, but now I gradually understand. By the way, my name is Lion Master Bao. What about you? Lion Master Bao. What a strange name. My name is Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was starting to like this kid a little. He wasn't as pedantic as he thought. Chapter 3892. Brother Ling Xiao, I'm going to Shuiyu to participate in the selection process. What about you? Not only was Xiao Bao honest, he was also very familiar with people. He said with a smile, What selection process? Ling Xiao asked curiously, Don't you know? The Western Kingdom has discovered a secret territory, although it's not very useful for the geniuses of those kingdoms. But for the warriors of those kingdoms, it's very precious. This time, the Shuiyu Kingdom is selecting all kinds of geniuses to join the expedition. It's all for the sake of entering the secret territory. At that time, not only will the Shuiyu Kingdom go, All the kingdoms under the jurisdiction of the Western Kingdom will go as well. But the real competitors will be the White Dragon Kingdom and the Fengho Kingdom. I think Brother Ling is pretty strong. Why don't we go together? It's good to have a share. It's said that in this secret territory, there will be the remains of a high-ranked beast god. It's something that can be transformed into a high-ranked beast god martial soul. In the entire Black Tortoise continent, beast god martial souls are respected by all. As for Xiao Bao, what Ling Xiao cared about the most was the remains of a high-ranked beast god. If he wanted to cultivate the 12 divine beast technique, he had to get his hands on it. Although he couldn't cultivate such a powerful martial skill right now, it wouldn't be a problem in the future. He had to prepare the materials in advance. All right, I'll go with you and try my luck. Dark Frost, let's go together. Since he had bumped into Dark Frost, Ling Xiao naturally wanted to go with her. Dark Frost was a 4th divine core warrior, the same as Xiao Bao. She could definitely help him. Is this little girl your sister? She's so young, but she's already at my level. She's amazing. Xiao Bao sighed. Indeed, Dark Frost looked like she was only 12 years old, because her appearance wouldn't change anymore. Ling Xiao didn't explain much. He just nodded and said, "That's right, she's my sister." Your sister is really strong, but there are even more powerful warriors in the Shui Kingdom. Some of the young warriors in the Shui Kingdom are even stronger than the young warriors from the Eastern Kingdom, Western Sea Kingdom, and Northern Wind Kingdom. This was the reason why the Western Kingdom was the strongest kingdom among the 4 kingdoms. The most famous person in Shui was the princess. He is known as the #1 genius of Shui. I think he has reached the peak 5th divine core realm. Although Lion Master Castle had lived in the mountains for a long time, his master had gotten all kinds of information from somewhere. He had always known what was going on outside. He knew a lot more about Shui than Ling Xiao. I'm not from Shui. Can I participate? On the way, Ling Xiao could not help but ask. Of course you can. Shui has always been a great country. We don't refuse anyone. As long as they were willing to work for Shui, even if they were from an enemy country, there was no problem. That's why Shui is becoming stronger and stronger. It's not any weaker than the other 3 countries. Liu Xiaobao replied. So good, Ling Xiao said in surprise. Of course, the Shui country has always been like that. Even the king of the country is chosen through the competition. As long as you are strong enough and loyal to Shui, you don't need to care about anything else. Liu Xiaobao said again. This country is interesting. I have to go and have a look. Ling Xiao's interest was piqued. Let's speed up then. We better get to Blood Moon City before nightfall. Otherwise, we'll have to camp here. This damn place is so cold, I'll freeze to death. Liu Xiaobao smiled. Then he suddenly increased his speed. This guy wasn't a scheming guy. He increased his speed purely because he wanted to hurry. He didn't care if others could catch up with him. But this kind of guy was easy to get along with. Because Jiang Qin could tell what he was thinking at first glance, he didn't seem like someone who was scheming. Dark Frost, I'll have to trouble you to hide in the Dongsheng Emperor Ring for a while. Ling Xiao looked at Dark Frost and said, No need. Ling Xiao Gidge, I can keep up with his speed. Dark Frost giggled. Then with a flash of her body, she flew away. What a powerful soul force. Looks like Ming Shuang did have a fortuitous encounter. Ling Xiao looked at the 2 people in front of him and used his falling plum-clear shadow steps to catch up with them. Along the way, they had met quite a number of people. Many of them had come for the selection of the Shui country. When it came to the princess of Shui Wushuang, everybody was full of praises. It was as if that woman was really peerless. Ling Xiao was curious. How could a princess of a big country compare to his woman? Yu Fanghua. He didn't believe it, but since everybody was praising Shui Wushuang, she must be extraordinary. Maybe he could make friends with her. One day later, the 3 of them arrived in Shui City. Shui was surprisingly a city of ice. It was built on top of a majestic snowy mountain. The surroundings were covered with white snow all year round. Ordinary people couldn't get close to it. Lingshao, that's Shuiyu City. It's rumored to be the capital of Shuiyu country. But some people say that it's just a small city outside the capital. The real capital of Shuiyu country is actually in a small world, said Xiao Sherbao while looking at Shuiyu City in the distance. Whether it's the capital or not, it should be our first stop. Ling Xiao gazed into the distance. The majestic, snowy mountain couldn't be seen. The wind was raging and the snow was roaring. The strangest thing was that there was no road leading to Shuiyu City. How can we get to Shuiyu City without a road? Asked Dark Frost curiously. There's a village at the foot of the mountain. You'll know when you get there, said Xiao Sherbao with a mysterious smile on his face. Ling Xiao and Dark Frost were following behind him. They were curious about the mysterious country of Shuiyu. They didn't know what was going on in Shuiyu country, but it was still an eye-opener for them. It wasn't a wasted trip. Just as Xiao Sherbao had said, there was a village at the foot of the mountain. The village wasn't small. It was much warmer than outside. It seemed like there was a special deployment spell there. Even ordinary people could live there. At that moment, outside of a big house, there was a long line. Many people were chatting in full swing. Ling Xiao could roughly make out a few words. Shui Wu Shuang, selection, mysterious territory. That must be what Xiao Sherbao was talking about. But he hadn't thought that there would be so many people. That should be the registration area. Let's go there, said Xiao Sherbao in a hurry. Xiao Sherbao was always excited. He was really a hot-blooded young man. When Ling Xiao saw Xiao Sherbao, he felt that he was a bit old. Maybe it was because he had been through a lot. Sometimes he was too calm and collected. He wasn't as hot-blooded as a young man should be. That's the two of them. When the three of them were in the line, a few people in the crowd pointed at them and whispered. Chapter 3893. Ling Xiao and Liu Xiaobao noticed that some people were pointing at them. These people's qi was very similar to the people who had escorted the female slaves, and all of them were very strong. They won't dare to do anything here, but I don't think so during the selection process. Brother Lion, be careful. Ling Xiao reminded Liu Xiaobao. Liu Xiaobao was a simple and honest person. Since they had become friends, he had to remind him. Understood. Liu Xiaobao nodded and looked at Ling Xiao gratefully. Dark Frost, you too. If you are attacked during the selection process, don't be merciful. Just kill them. Ling Xiao looked at Dark Frost and said, Got it, brother Ling Xiao. Dark Frost was in a very good mood. She hadn't had a good time after leaving Ling Xiao. She had been thinking about him day and night. As expected, the heavens were moved. Her big brother Ling Xiao had finally appeared. Finally, it was their turn. The person in charge of registration smiled and said, Write your real name on this piece of paper. Remember, it's your real name. If it's a fake name, you will be eliminated immediately. Ling Xiao noticed that the piece of paper was very special. It actually had the luster of a formation on it, and lines of incantations were faintly discernible. Others couldn't see it, but he could see it clearly with his Tai Chi eye. Liu Xiaobao wrote his name on the paper, and it shined. The person in charge looked at him and said, Good young man, I hope you can become a member of the Shuiyu country. Ling Xiao was surprised when he heard that. The person in charge could tell a person's origin just by looking at his name. Brother Ling, I'll wait for you over there. Liu Xiaobao stood aside after he finished registering. Ling Xiao nodded and walked over. Master, I'm not a citizen of the Shuiyu country. Can I participate in the selection process? Ling Xiao didn't want to cause any trouble, so he decided to be frank. It's okay, you can register, but you have to remember one thing. The Shuiyu country is recruiting people, regardless of their origin, status, or background. But he absolutely could not betray his country. Otherwise, you will suffer the most severe punishment. The person in charge reminded him, You decide for yourself. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Ling Xiao picked up the brush and wrote his name on it. In that instant, it also emitted a golden light. The person in charge was stunned for a moment. He looked at Ling Xiao with interest and said, "Not bad, kid. After going through so many hardships and dangers and walking out of a small town, he was actually able to leave the western regions and come here. You must be very resilient. It was just that his cultivation was a little lacking. However, this old man still thinks highly of you. Thank you for your praise, senior." Hearing the other party's words, Ling Xiao heaved a sigh of relief. He could tell that the other party only had a rough idea of what had happened to him after he entered Samsara. After that, Dark Frost also went up and wrote down her name. The person in charge didn't say anything this time. He probably saw that Ling Xiao and Dark Frost were both from the western regions, so there was no need to waste his breath. The selection will officially begin tomorrow. Today you can stay in the village or go to the top of the snow mountain. However, this old man has to remind you that the top of the snow mountain is not safe. Not only is the natural environment bad, but there are also powerful snow beasts. For your safety, I suggest that you stay in the village for the night. As expected, the person in charge looked at Ling Xiao in a new light and gave him a special reminder. All right. Ling Xiao nodded and immediately left with Dark Frost. "Brother Lion, do you want to go to the snowy mountain to play? Although I'm afraid that we won't be able to climb the highest peak of the snowy mountain in a short period of time. Although you can't reach the top of the mountain, you can go to Shuiyu City." Ling Xiao looked at Shi Xiaobao and asked, "All right, I have heard that the princess of Shuiyu, Shui Wushuang, is extremely beautiful. I really want to go and see. Maybe she is in Shuiyu City." Shi Xiaobao said excitedly. For a man who hadn't seen a woman for 20 years, Shui Wushuang was really attractive. However, Shi Xiaobao wasn't the only one who thought that way. Ling Xiao noticed that some people were already going to Shuiyu City. There were 3 ways to get to Shuiyu City. The first way was to use the portal. Only cultivators of Shui, you were allowed to use it, and they had to pay a fee. The second way was to climb the snow mountain. It was the most difficult way. The third way was to use a cable. If one looked carefully, one would see that there were many cables extending from the bottom of Shuiyu City. There were cultivators walking up the rope. It was much easier than the second way. Most cultivators would choose that way. Ling Xiao and the others also chose to use the cable. Even though it was cold and the cables were very slippery, the 3 of them were extremely strong cultivators, so it wasn't a problem for them. Using the cable, they could also avoid the snow beasts. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, the amount of time he had spent on this was truly not short. It seemed like it was only 2 kilometers, but it took them half an hour. When they arrived outside of Shuiyu City, everybody suddenly stopped talking and became extremely respectful. Ling Xiao knew that those people were probably in awe of the imperial court of Shuiyu. When they arrived in Shuiyu City, someone suddenly shouted, "Your Highness the Princess, look! It's Her Highness the Princess." Ling Xiao looked in the direction those people were pointing and saw a group of people slowly walking towards the imperial court of Shuiyu City. One of them was wearing white clothes and looked like a celestial being. She looked like a fairy born in the snow. It gave people an extremely strong impact. Without a doubt, Shui Wushuang was very beautiful. In terms of beauty, she didn't lose to the Moon Lady. Besides, the 2 of them had the same chi, cold and proud. The only difference was that Shui Wushuang's chi seemed to have been cultivated. The Moon Lady's chi was innate. Shui Wushuang's chi was a little artificial, while the Moon Lady's chi was natural. No matter what she did, it was the same. One of them was made by hand, the other was made by nature. It felt different. Of course, that was only his judgment. For those who had never seen the Moon Lady or Yufanghua, Shui Wushuang was probably already a goddess in their hearts. Too beautiful, so beautiful that it's suffocating. If I have the fortune to talk to her, even if I die, it will be worth it. The people around him were all sighing and excited. Even the Lion Master Castle was no exception. This woman is indeed a seductress. Ling Xiao smiled, no matter whether he admitted it or not. Xue Wushuang's qi was fatal to men. What's so great about her? I'll be prettier than her when I grow up. Dark Frost said angrily. Dark Frost's qi wasn't inferior to Xue Wushuang in terms of appearance, but unfortunately, she still looked like a 12 or 13-year-old girl. Apart from people with special hobbies, most people wouldn't have any feelings for her. You're right. Our Dark Frost is much prettier than her. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Chapter 3894. Xue Wushuang, your daddies. Suddenly, a man jumped out from the crowd and flew towards Xue Wushuang. This man was a late 5th Divine Core Warrior, and he was extremely strong. Damn it, that's a famous rapist. He has been running wild in Xueyu for many years. I didn't expect him to hide in the crowd and attack Xue Wushuang. Someone from the crowd shouted out in surprise. But no one dared to help Xue Wushuang. It was rumored that Xue Wushuang hated it when people got close to her. If they couldn't save Xue Wushuang and offended her, it would be a huge loss. As if she had heard the crowd shouts. Xue Wushuang looked at the rapist, who was flying towards her with an indifferent expression. At this moment, the crowd could clearly see her face. What a pity! If such a beautiful flower was destroyed, I would be speechless. Come on. Do you really think that rapist can hurt Princess Xue Wushuang? Princess Xue Wushuang is a peak 5th Divine Core Warrior. With her strength, how could that rapist be her match? That might not be true. This rapist has been running wild in Xueyu for many years, and many peak 5th Divine Core Warriors have died in his hands. Hearing this, many people became silent. Indeed, compared to Xue Wushuang's strength, the crowd admired her beauty more. As for her strength, most of them had only heard about it from rumors. They didn't know much about it. However, in the next second, everyone was stunned. Xue Wushuang gently waved her slender hand. A palm strike turned into an ice-cold attack. The rapist wanted to dodge, but he realized that the air around him had been frozen, and he couldn't dodge it at all. With just a single palm strike, the rapist was slammed onto the ground and suffocated. Right at this moment, the guards next to Xue Wushuang rushed over and tied the rapist up. Let the Ministry of Justice handle this. Xue Wushuang acted like she hadn't done anything. She casually said, then continued walking forward. The crowd clapped their hands and praised her. Even Ling Xiao felt that this woman wasn't simple. Just from that palm strike alone, one could tell that she had a lot of combat experience. How is it? Do you have the confidence to defeat her? Sure, Xiaobao asked with a smile. I heard that one of the stages of the selection was personally checked by this Princess Xue Wushuang. I'm afraid it won't be easy. Of course. Ling Xiao smiled confidently. So what if he was a peak 5th Divine Core Warrior? Although his cultivation level was low, he had many divine abilities. Dark Frost, let's go to Xueyu City. Ling Xiao withdrew his gaze. Although Xue Wushuang was beautiful, it was not enough to move his heart. In her heart, she only loved the Moon Maiden. Then he entered Xueyu City. Stop! People couldn't help but shout when they saw Ling Xiao casually walk into Xueyu City. And there was more than one person shouting, because they felt that Xue Wushuang should not have rashly stepped onto the street before leaving. Otherwise, it would be blasphemous and offensive. However, since when did Ling Xiao care about other people's opinions? Holding Dark Frost's little hand, they walked down the street like brother and sister. Stop right there, didn't you hear me? Suddenly, a man jumped out from the crowd. This man wasn't young anymore, he was in his 30s. Obviously, he had a crush on Xue Wushuang. Seeing Ling Xiao ignore their advice and stubbornly walk down the street, he couldn't help but laugh. How could he tolerate this? In his mind, Ling Xiao's actions were not only disrespectful to Xue Wushuang, he was also looking down on all of them. This man moved with incredible speed. After all, he was a 3rd Divine Core Warrior, and his strength wasn't weak at all. While in midair, he drew his sword and thrust it towards Ling Xiao's back. This guy was really cruel. He wanted to take Jiang Chen's life the moment he drew his sword. He didn't even consider whether it was safe or not. Ling Xiao didn't even turn around to look at the man. He completely ignored him. Sure, Xiao Bao didn't help either. It wasn't that he didn't want to help, it was because he believed that Ling Xiao wouldn't be killed so easily. The reason why he became friends with Ling Xiao was because Ling Xiao was just like him. They were both strong. This was what his beast-like instinct told him. How dare you look down on me? Fine, I'll kill you. I'll show you how strong I am. The man who attacked Jiang Chen wanted to perform well so that Xue Wushuang would turn around and look at him. But right now, Xue Wushuang had indeed turned around. That was why he was so excited. He wanted to show his true strength. The long sword in his hand drew out a sword flower. The beautiful and gorgeous sword move was like a blooming white lotus in the void. Idiot! Ling Xiao didn't even need to turn around to know what the man was doing. Although his soul was injured and hadn't fully recovered, his spiritual sense hadn't weakened. Big bro Ling Xiao, that man is too noisy. What should we do? Dark Frost asked. Just kill him. Jiang Chen's casual voice caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Killing a third divine core warrior just like that? Do you think you're Xue Wushuang? Got it, big bro Ling Xiao. Ming Shuang giggled and suddenly turned around. It was just a glance. With just a single glance, the man was knocked down from the sky. When the warrior landed on the ground, his eyes were still filled with terror. Miserable screams kept coming out from his mouth. After that, he stabbed his own dantian with his long sword. His body was destroyed, and his inner core was destroyed. What a terrifying way to die. That young girl and young man are really strange. When the crowd saw what happened, they were all shocked. They knew that both Ling Xiao and Dark Frost weren't easy to deal with. Therefore, no one dared to recklessly attack them. Ha ha ha! You're indeed the brother of young Lion Master Castle. Young Lion Master Castle was laughing out loud as he walked into Snow Moon City. He walked side by side with Ling Xiao and Dark Frost. They completely ignored those warriors who were kneeling on both sides of the street because of Xue Wushuang. Interesting. Xue Wushuang curiously looked at the three men. It was a strange combination, and Dark Frost's attack had surprised her as well. Are you guys here for me as well? Xue Wushuang furrowed her brows. She hated the way these men looked at her. It was as if they were treating her like a toy. She wasn't happy at all. Her voice was filled with arrogance and arrogance. It was as if she was a peerless treasure and everyone had come for her, risking their lives for her. No, I'm here to become the strongest cultivator of Xueyu. Young Lion Master Castle's answer was straightforward. Xue Wushuang was astonished. She didn't know how to respond. Dark Frost's next words made Xue Wushuang seethe with anger. Ling Xiao, that woman is so narcissistic. Does she think that all the men in the world are crazy for her? Sure, don't talk nonsense. Ling Xiao made a gesture to silence her. Xue Wushuang felt a bit better, but Ling Xiao's next words almost made her choke to death. Even if it's the truth, don't talk nonsense. After all, this is Xueyu, it's their territory. Chapter 3895. After speaking, Ling Xiao walked forward with Dark Frost. He was not interested in Xue Wushuang at all. With a woman like Yu Fanghua, Xue Wushuang was like the pretentious Dongsher in front of him. Xue Wushuang's pretty face was cold. These three people did not take her seriously at all. They were completely different from those people she had met before. Those men in the past were almost crazy when they saw her, and those women were full of praise. However, the three of them acted as if they had just seen a proud hen. Not only were they not interested in her, but they were also mocking her. How could she tolerate that? That was why some people were so cheap. When others were chasing her crazily, she despised them and wanted to avoid them. When others ignored her, she was upset and felt that her pride was being challenged. Stop! Xue Wushuang said coldly. What? Your Highness. Don't tell me you're the only one worthy of walking on this street, like those idiots? Ling Xiao hated this kind of woman who pretended to be arrogant, and her tone was so stiff. It was a completely commanding tone. It made him very uncomfortable, so his words were also very rude. Hee, she must have seen how handsome Brother Ling Xiao is, and wants to marry you, Brother Ling Xiao. Unfortunately, you already have someone in your heart, and she's not on the list. Dark Frost giggled. The two of them echoed each other, and Xue Wushuang's face became more and more ugly. I want to marry him? What a fool's dream! Xue Wushuang seemed to have seized the opportunity to mock the other party, and said through gritted teeth, "With your strength, you're practically useless. The person who wants me to marry can't just be a good-looking person. He has to be much stronger than me. His status must be higher than mine, or at least equal to mine. Are you worthy? Aren't your conditions a little too simple? Don't tell me you're degrading yourself. Even if you can't get married, you don't have to do this. Although you're a genius, it's not difficult to find someone who is stronger than you and has a higher status than you. How are you looking for a man? You're looking for your father." Ling Xiao smiled. "Bullshit. I haven't finished stating my conditions yet. In addition to those two conditions, there's also the condition that they can't be more than 5 years older than me. I'm only 20 years old now. My parents have been looking for a partner for me since I was 15. However, to this day, not a single person was able to fulfill these 3 conditions. Let me tell you, it's not that I can't get married. It's that I don't want to marry trash." Xue Wushuang was provoked by Ling Xiao to the point of spitting out vulgarities. "I'm afraid you've misunderstood something. Most of the young people under the age of 25 who are stronger than you and have a higher status than you will look down on you. I'm worried that if you don't lower your standards, you won't be able to get married for the rest of your life." Ling Xiao continued to smile and said, "Why don't you just follow my brother? He is about the same age as you, and his cultivation base is at the peak 4th divine core realm. He is only 1 realm lower than you. Moreover, his talent is outstanding. It won't be difficult for him to surpass you. Country bumpkin, why would I marry him?" Xue Wushuang became even angrier. "Brother Ling, why are you trying to matchmake me? I don't want a woman like her. If I want to find a woman, I should at least find a woman from one of the Western kingdoms. Although she is beautiful, her strength is too weak, and her talent is mediocre. My master has higher standards than me. He said that if I want to marry a woman, it'd be best if I marry a woman from the golden, heavenly kingdom. Marrying a woman from a powerful kingdom is already a disgrace, let alone a woman from a powerful kingdom. Forget it." Lion Xiaobao didn't mean to mock Xue Wushuang. He was just telling the truth. However, the effect was even more effective than Ling Xiao's words. Xue Wushuang was furious. She was the princess of the Xueyu kingdom, but she was being looked down upon by a country bumpkin. This was a great humiliation. "I understand now. You two are deliberately trying to arouse my interest in you through this method, aren't you? I almost fell for it." Xue Wushuang suddenly smiled. Although she was still a bit agitated, it seemed like she had found a way to vent her anger. She had met similar men in the past who had deliberately made sarcastic remarks to her in order to attract her attention. "You think too highly of yourself. In my eyes, you are just an ordinary, beautiful female cultivator. If you can't extricate yourself from your beauty, your life will end here. All right. Your Highness can continue to wallow in self-pity. Brother Lion, Dark Frost, let's go." Ling Xiao was too lazy to talk to this self-righteous woman. It was too boring. Upon hearing this, Ming Shuang made a funny face at Xue Wushuang. Her giggling appearance was simply infuriating. "You think too highly of yourself." In Xue Wushuang's ears, these words were simply a vicious curse. It made her feel even worse than directly stabbing her with a knife. Could it be that this guy really didn't have any feelings for her? That was impossible. While she was still in chaos, Ling Xiao, Dark Frost, and Lion Xiaobao had already left. They left right in front of her without any reluctance. Shui Wushuang tried her best to calm herself down. She glared at the backs of the three people and said, "I will remember the three of you. In this election, don't even think about passing my test." As expected of a self-righteous woman, Ling Zhao's voice sounded again. It was like a sharp arrow that fiercely stabbed into Shui Wushuang's heart. It hurt. This was the first time she was humiliated by a man. "Let's go." Shui Wushuang gritted her teeth. She had no interest in shopping at all. She headed straight for the imperial court. Ling Xiao naturally didn't bother with her anymore. The three of them walked around Snow Moon City. Ling Xiao bought a lot of medicinal ingredients. After returning to the village, he began to refine pills. To recover his soul, he still had to rely on these pills to slowly recover. As for the increase in cultivation, he was not worried. As long as there was a battle, he could recover. This was not the first time. It would be very fast. Liu Xiaobao and Ming Shuang, on the other hand, were cultivating. The next day, the three of them once again arrived at the foot of the snowy mountain, because the first round of the selection would begin here. So many people, at least a few tens of thousands. When they arrived at the foot of the snowy mountain, a large number of warriors had already gathered there. Apart from Ling Xiao, all of them were divine core warriors. It was a shocking scene. Indeed, the Shuiyu country was much stronger than the Purple Kingdom. Around 100,000 people. Ling Xiao used his Tai Chi eye to estimate the exact number of people. "I heard that we have to pick 10 people from these people. The chance is 1 in 100,000. Yes, it is indeed very difficult. Also, one of the 10 spots has already been taken by Princess Shui Wushuang. To be exact, there are only 9 people." When Lion Xiaobao said this, he didn't seem worried at all. He was full of confidence. Perhaps this was why Ling Xiao was attracted to him. Ling Xiao was willing to make friends with someone, but he had his standards. Chapter 3896. Everyone. All of a sudden, the person in charge from yesterday spoke up. A frightening aura could be sensed from his voice, causing all the warriors who were talking to each other to stop. Ling Xiao was surprised as well. This man looked to be in his 50s or 60s, and his cultivation had reached the peak 6th divine core realm. He was at the same level as the king of Zifu. The king of Shui was much stronger than the king of Zifu, Qinyu. Seeing everyone looking at him, the old man smiled. The old man smiled and said, "Everyone, I don't care about your origins or where you came from, but once you participate in the selection and pass, you'll become a citizen of Shuiyu. You'll never betray Shuiyu. If you disobey, you'll be killed without mercy. Therefore, you still have the chance to regret your decision. Those who have evil thoughts, you better give up now. You can still keep your life or else you'll know the consequences of betrayal in the future." But no one left, since they were all here who would leave so easily. Besides, they might not even be able to pass the selection. Choosing 9 people out of 100,000, the probability of being selected was too low. Fine. Since none of you want to give up, I'll congratulate you in advance. I'm sure all of you know that the purpose of this selection is to enter a secret realm in one of the Western Kingdom's superpowers. One thing is for sure, the secret realm is filled with dangers. Although the opportunity is great, the possibility of losing your life is also great. You're all warriors. I'm sure you've been to many secret realms and ancient ruins. As for how dangerous it is, I don't need to tell you. Anyway, I can only describe it with one word. 9 deaths and 1 life. I can tell you this. In this trip to the secret realm, a total of 300 superpowers from the Western Kingdom will participate. This includes the White Dragon superpower, Fengho superpower, and other superpowers that aren't any weaker than Shuiyu superpower. Even the superpowers from the Western Kingdom will send their representatives to participate. I'm sure you all know what kind of competition this is. Therefore, only 10 people will be selected. I'm sure many of you already know this, so I won't explain it to you. Those who don't want to lose face in the selection, or even lose your life, I hope you can give up now. Warriors below the divine core realm don't need to participate. As for those early and mid-divine core warriors, they could withdraw from the competition as well. Of course, this is just a suggestion, but if you really want to participate, I won't stop you. After all, everyone has their own ambitions. The old man's words caused a strong reaction among the crowd. Finally, some people began to withdraw. However, there weren't many of them. Out of 100,000 people, only 10,000 chose to withdraw. Most of these men were at the first or second divine core realm. On the other hand, Ling Xiao, a divine vein realm martial artist, didn't withdraw. Brother Ling, let's go to the mystery realm together. That way, we can look after each other. Liu Xiaobao said excitedly, I don't quite understand. Why do you insist on going to the secret realm? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Firstly, I naturally have to fulfill my master's wish. I have to become stronger, head to the golden heavenly kingdom, and marry a woman from there. Secondly, I also want to test what my limits are. What about you? Liu Xiaobao asked. For one thing, Ling Xiao said indifferently. He had entered the secret realm for the beast god's blood. Of course, it would be best if he could raise his cultivation during this process. Regardless of whether it was an ancient relic or an extraterrestrial relic, the secret realms were filled with mysteries and secrets. As long as he seized the opportunity, he would be able to rapidly increase his strength. Ling Xiao wanted to recover his cultivation as soon as possible and become even stronger. He knew clearly that the people he was about to face weren't ordinary people. Wang Quan Tianxia, Peak 8th Divine Core Realm. Wang Quan Tianming, Half-Step Divine Physique Realm. 1 Empress and 4 Emperors, all divine physique realm warriors. If Ling Xiao couldn't defeat them in terms of strength, he wouldn't be qualified to marry Yu Fanghua. The trip to the mystery realm in the Shui, Yu Kingdom, was the first step. Next, he would head to the Western Kingdom. Step by step, he would become stronger. Since no one is withdrawing, the first round of the exam will begin soon. Many of you have been to the Shui Yu City yesterday. Today's first round of the exam will be a trip to the Shui Yu City without using a portal or a rope. The first 10,000 people to arrive will be able to enter the second round of the exam. If there are less than 10,000 people, then everyone will be counted. Do you all understand? Understood. The rules were simple and easy to understand. Everyone understood. However, it was cruel to know that only 10,000 people were left after being eliminated from 90,000 people. Only 1 out of 9 people could pass the first round. All right, everyone, take your places. Everyone unleashed their terrifying auras. Ling Xiao unleashed his firestorm wheels as well. Since his cultivation wasn't strong enough, he could only use his magical treasures. Begin. Following the old man's order, 90,000 people leapt into the air at the same time. It was a spectacular scene. Boom! Many people had just leapt into the air when they were knocked back down by the people around them. This wasn't a simple race. It was a competition. Warriors could use different methods to influence their opponents. After all, it wasn't realistic for 90,000 people to climb the mountain at the same time. Bone Cage. A ring of eerie white bones appeared around Darkfrost's body. These white bones were controlled by her soul power. Not only could they attack her enemies, they could also protect her. She easily blocked the attacks from the warriors around her, then leapt into the air. Lion Master Fort's actions were even simpler. He let out a furious roar, like a furious lion. Everyone around him was knocked down by his roar. On the other hand, he dashed forward like a ferocious lion. Although those who were knocked back didn't die and weren't seriously injured, they were at a disadvantage in terms of speed. Ling Xiao's actions were even simpler. He simply stepped onto the firestorm wheels and flew into the air. The cold air didn't affect him at all. His fleshly body was that strong. It's those 3 men. It doesn't matter if you can pass the test or not. You have to kill those 3 men. The warriors who Ling Xiao and Lion Master Fort had offended had started their actions as well. 3 perfect first heavenly core warriors leapt towards Ling Xiao. There was also a perfect fourth heavenly core warrior and a late fourth heavenly core warrior who leapt towards Lion Master Fort and Dark Frost. They felt that Ling Xiao was the weakest amongst the three men, so they didn't need any strong warriors to attack him. The three perfect first heavenly core warriors leapt towards Ling Xiao. Their ferocious attacks were aimed at killing Ling Xiao. They weren't here to participate in the test. They were here to take revenge. Ling Xiao only responded with a disdainful smile. He didn't even attack. All three men's attacks landed on the firestorm wheels at the same time. Wind force, fire force, lightning force. All of them exploded at the same time. All three men were stunned at this moment. One of them dashed towards his companion. Another man's body froze in midair, then he fell down to the ground. The unluckiest one fainted on the spot. He couldn't even defend himself. Chapter 3897. The warrior who was paralyzed by the power of lightning was killed by his own sword on the spot. Blood splattered in the void. However, no one cared. One could imagine how chaotic the scene was when 90,000 people were in the air at the same time. Even if someone was killed by the attack, it probably wouldn't affect the others. The warrior who was confused by the power of wind killed another person who was stunned. In the end, he was also blasted down by the warrior next to him. In an instant, Ling Xiao didn't make a move at all, but the three people were all eliminated or even killed. When his battle ended, the battle between Leo Master Bao and Dark Frost had also ended. Leo Master Bao was more soft-hearted and didn't want to kill, but his strength was too terrifying. He directly beat the people who pounced on him into a pile of mud. Dark Frost was much more ruthless. The white bone cage pierced the opponent into a hedgehog, and they fell to the ground and died. How is this possible? How can those three guys be so powerful? On the ground, several warriors were terrified. Let's go quickly. We've offended someone we shouldn't have offended. They don't have time to make a move now, but if they pass the exam, we'll be in trouble. The leader of the group was a rather wise one. Knowing that the situation was wrong, he chose to escape. If they stayed with Ling Xiao's personality, he would definitely kill them all. As for the people who died, they could only die in vain. Their strength didn't affect the progress of the exam. Ling Xiao, Leo Master Bao, and Dark Frost were a little behind at this time, because they encountered an attack. Even if they solved it in a short time, the problem was that everyone was an expert. Even if it was a breath, they might fall behind the others. However, Ling Xiao wasn't in a hurry. At the critical moment, he would use his special methods. Now, there was no need for that. The fastest group of people had only reached halfway up the mountain, and they had encountered trouble. Suddenly, a huge hand reached out from the pure white snow. This hand was more than 10 meters long and several meters wide. With a slap, more than a dozen people were directly sent flying. All the running he had done before had been for nothing. It's a snow beast. Someone shouted. However, the voice was too loud, and a loud rumbling sound suddenly came from the top of the mountain. *CK, an avalanche. Someone cursed. However, things like avalanches were a common occurrence when climbing snow mountains. Ordinary people could only resign themselves to fate. If he was a martial artist, he would still be able to survive. However, in the face of the snow demon beast's rampage and the avalanche's onslaught, half of the first batch of people were blasted down. Only a small number of people managed to escape and continue forward. Seizing this opportunity, Liu Xiaobao, Dark Frost, and Ling Xiao caught up. Ling Xiao's firestorm wheels had a very strong defense. With his current strength, no one below the third divine core realm would be able to hurt him. It was even more impossible for the avalanche to hurt him. The tricolored light flashed, and before the avalanche could even touch his body, it had already been shattered. Lion Master Bao and Dark Frost also displayed their abilities, and their performance was not inferior to Ling Xiao's at all. At this time, there were still about 30,000 martial artists who were still climbing. However, it was divided into 3 flights of stairs. There were only 1,000 people in the first tier. Ling Xiao, Lion Master Bao, and Dark Frost were all in the first tier. Right now, they were only a few hundred meters away from Snow Moon City. As long as they could reach the top, they would be considered to have passed the first round. However, right at this moment, a figure appeared outside of Snow Moon City. Shui Wushuang! It's Shui Wushuang! The crowd cried out in surprise. Didn't they say Shui Wushuang wouldn't appear in the first round? Why was she standing there all of a sudden? However, Shui Wushuang didn't do anything. She just stared at Ling Xiao. Compared to Dark Frost and Lion Master Bao, obviously, she hated Ling Xiao even more. Just as Ling Xiao was about to reach Snow Moon City, a sneer emerged on Shui Wushuang's face. Today, I'll let you know the consequences of offending this princess. All of a sudden, she lightly pointed her finger. Just as Ling Xiao was about to reach Snow Moon City, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. Amidst the rolling avalanche, there was a sword beam. Even though it didn't have any killing intent, it clearly wanted to prevent him from passing the test. Ling Xiao frowned. After all, his cultivation level wasn't high enough. If he directly faced Shui Wushuang's attack, he would be at a disadvantage. Even if he blocked it, he would fall behind 10,000 people. At that time, he still wouldn't be able to pass the test. Maybe that was what Shui Wushuang wanted. Humph. Ling Xiao sneered. He would remember this for the time being. When he shouldn't fight with force, he wouldn't act recklessly. He suddenly used the falling plum-clear shadow steps, and his speed increased sharply. At the same time, he disappeared from his original position. At that moment, Shui Wushuang was astonished, because even she didn't see how Ling Xiao avoided her sword beam. Not good. While Shui Wushuang was puzzled, she suddenly felt a terrifying sense of danger. She hastily circulated her pure qi and released an ice crystal shield to block it. The danger finally appeared. It was Ling Xiao. He didn't use any technique. It was just a simple punch. The black tortoise divine body exploded with terrifying power. His physical body was the black tortoise divine body of the 7th Order Emperor realm. This ordinary punch was more effective than any of his current moves. How could Shui Wushuang block it? Boom! The ice crystal shield was directly shattered. Shui Wushuang's abdomen was hit by the punch. She fell from the top of the Snow Moon City. Although he managed to stop himself in time, his sorry state was still seen by everyone. Bastard! How dare you touch Princess Wushuang? Many people saw the scene of Ling Xiao attacking Shui Wushuang. Shui Wushuang had a lot of brainless fans. These people had always treated Shui Wushuang as a goddess. Ling Xiao dared to attack Shui Wushuang. This made them furious. In an instant, at the entrance of the Snow Moon City, countless murderous auras rushed toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao stood there and looked at these people coldly. He didn't regret attacking Shui Wushuang. Although Shui Wushuang didn't intend to kill him, she secretly attacked him in an attempt to eliminate him. It was reasonable for him to fight back. In other people's eyes, Shui Wushuang might be a goddess, a blessed girl. But in his eyes, she was just a self-righteous idiot. Do you all want to die? A cold voice came out from Ling Xiao's mouth. If you want to die, go ahead. My hands have been itching recently. These people thought that by threatening Ling Xiao together, they could make Ling Xiao afraid. However, they didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so arrogant. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. Count me in two. Dark Frost also walked to Ling Xiao's side and released her terrifying soul power, causing great pressure to the surrounding cultivators. If you want to fight, you can't leave me out. Lion Xiaobao also walked to Ling Xiao's side. This guy was loyal and didn't choose to avoid it this time. Everyone stop. Shui Wushuang had already returned to the entrance of the Snow Moon City. Her face was pale, and there was blood at the corner of her mouth. Ling Xiao used his strength to gain Shui Wushuang's attention. Chapter 3898. You must be a body-refining cultivator. No wonder your cultivation level is so low. Xue Wushuang looked at Ling Xiao and was surprised. You don't need to know. Ling Xiao didn't give Xue Wushuang any face. Xue Wushuang was so angry that her pale face became even uglier. Ling Xiao didn't care about what she thought. Attacking people as he wished and trying to make them treat him well? Dream on. Ling Xiao's unyielding attitude caused the atmosphere to stiffen for a moment. At that moment, the old man in charge of the exam suddenly appeared. You want to fight now? Don't tell me you don't want to continue with the exam? The old man's voice wasn't loud, but it was full of threat. Everyone's heart trembled when they heard it. The cultivators who surrounded Ling Xiao and the other two just glared at Ling Xiao and then dispersed. You guys have done well. Surprisingly, there are almost 20,000 people in Shuiyu City. However, those who are ranked below 10,000 will still be eliminated. You don't need me to call your names. Just leave. The old man looked at the crowd indifferently. Most of them chose to listen and leave. However, there were a few lucky people who wanted to fish in troubled waters. Unfortunately, those people were miserable. They were directly thrown off the mountain by the old man. They didn't know why they were asking for trouble. The Shuiyu country dared to let the old man in charge of the exam. It meant that they had enough confidence in his strength. If he didn't have the ability, he wouldn't have been the examiner. Very quickly, there were only 10,001 people left in Shuiyu City. That one was naturally Xue Wushuang. Now, let's move on to the second round. Only 1,000 people will be left out of the 10,000. The old man looked at the 10,000 people and then looked at Xue Wushuang and said, Your Highness, you will be in charge of the second round. When Ling Xiao heard this, he couldn't help but frown. He was worried that Xue Wushuang would continue to make things difficult for him. After all, offending the judge was not a good thing. Follow me. Xue Wushuang said indifferently and then brought the 10,000 people to a valley. The valley was transparent on both sides. A strong wind was blowing. A demonic beast accidentally barged in and was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture. Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. I don't think I need to say more. All of you have to enter the valley and stay there for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the first 1,000 people to leave the valley will be able to enter the final test. Xue Wushuang said coldly, It can't be, let alone 10 minutes. Even if it's just 1 minute, I'm afraid I'll freeze to death. That's right. Don't even talk about escaping. It's already good enough to survive. Everyone was talking about it. Xue Wushuang added, Those who are afraid, you can leave now. Our test does not force anyone. I quit. I'll withdraw too. This is simply playing with our lives. That's right. Although the treasures are good, it's not fun to lose your life. The threat of the second stage was still too great. Out of the 10,000 people, a total of 2,000 chose to withdraw. Since the 8,000 of you are unwilling to leave, you may enter the valley now. Xue Wushuang still said expressionlessly. Everyone nodded and stepped into the valley together. In that instant, all 8,000 of them were frozen. Ling Xiao was no exception. The degree of coldness was too terrifying. Start the countdown. Xue Wushuang took out a magic treasure with a time display on it. While waiting, she glanced coldly at Ling Xiao. Even if I didn't target you, you still can't pass this stage. No matter how strong your body is in such a cold environment, it's difficult to persevere without true essence. A minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes passed. I give up. Finally, someone couldn't take it anymore and felt that his consciousness was about to blur. Xue Wushuang glanced at him and was surprised that it wasn't Ling Xiao. The old man standing beside her raised his hand, and the person who chose to give up was pulled out. His whole body was trembling, but at least his life was saved. I give up too. I don't want to persevere either. With one person giving up, more people would give up. Everyone had the problem of following the trend. In an instant, hundreds of people chose to give up. It had only been 3 minutes. When the 4th minute passed, many people gave up again. When the 5th minute passed, the number of people who gave up had exceeded 1,000. 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Before the last minute passed, nearly 3,000 people chose to give up. As a result, there were only about 4,000 people who were still able to persevere. The quality of this group of people is quite good. There are 4,000 people who can persevere for 9 minutes. The old man said with a smile, "Yeah, I'm afraid that some people will be too full of themselves and end up losing their lives." Shui Wuxuang kept staring at Ling Xiao. Others in the ice cave were trying to break out of the ice, but Ling Xiao was motionless as if he had lost his life. However, since he didn't give up, she couldn't do anything about it. Finally, 10 minutes passed. "Start escaping the valley," Shui Wuxuang said loudly. As soon as she said that, a figure jumped out together with the ice. Shui Wuxuang was shocked to see that person, because the first person to come out was none other than Ling Xiao. However, what surprised her was that all the others had escaped after leaving the ice. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, had escaped together with the ice. Not only was Shui Wuxuang surprised, even the old man was surprised. Only Ling Xiao knew that he wasn't frozen. Right after he entered the valley, he immediately unleashed his frost divine dragon beast soul and isolated himself with the ice. Not only was the extreme cold unable to enter his body, it was even absorbed by the frost divine dragon beast soul and turned into potential energy in his body. In just a short moment, his cultivation had broken through to the mid-9th level divine core realm. It was enough to show how cold the valley was. After retracting the ice around his body, Ling Xiao didn't look at Shui Wuxuang. Instead, he was celebrating with Dark Frost and Lion Xiaobao. These two people were also among the top. "Looks like you do have some skills." Shui Wuxuang felt that Ling Xiao was incredible, but the more she thought about it, the more unhappy she felt. She gradually realized that Ling Xiao's disregard and disdain for her wasn't an act. It came from the bottom of his heart. This made her feel even more frustrated. Ling Xiao didn't respond to Shui Wuxuang. This made Shui Wuxuang feel like she was going to suffer from internal injuries. "Princess, don't be angry." Next, the first 1,000 people to break out from the ice. "Follow me to the arena in Snow Moon City. Only 9 of you can stay. Just defeat your opponents," the old man ordered. The 1,000 people who passed the second round followed him back to Snow Moon City. They arrived at the huge arena. The arena in Snow Moon City was very special. The arena was set up in the air, and it was 20 meters above the ground. The seats for the audience were set up high, and they could clearly see the battles happening above.